Mr. Pop. Dark.
When the little birds are nesting, and I listen to them coo, there's two lonesome people in the whole wide world. That's me and the man in the moon.
Well, now that we're here
now.
All of our voices are present. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Miskatonic University Radio, a podcast exploring Fantasy Flight Games' Arkham Horror the card game. I'm Dane.
I'm Dan. Can I ask a quick question? We've been exploring Fantasy Flight Games' Arkham Horror the card game for a long time now. Have we still not found it? Like, are we...
We sure haven't.
Are we still going through the encounter deck looking for the location that we can actually move to? Is that still happening after years?
It exists in a strange realm called Minnesota.
Sorry for
I hear
the
they have
interruption. It's time
10,000 lakes there.
It's time for the third guy to introduce himself. What's your name again?
Who even?
Shoot. Oh, I'm Ben. Yeah. So thanks for that insightful commentary, Dan.
It just occurred to me that like we've been saying the same thing for a long time, and you'd think at some point we'd be done exploring, but I guess not.
I know. I tried to write an extremely good shortened intro, but it was rejected and thrown in the mud. So we're sticking at this for now.
It's a sad story.
Awesome. Sukadem, we're so glad to have you here. Glad to be live with you here. So today we're actually going to be exploring the new upcoming Investigator starter packs, starting with the Guardian and Survivor player cards. So just to get it out of the way here, this is not including Nathaniel Cho and Stella. We're going to be doing those in a separate part of this. It's just going to be what they're going to be using, all the good events that are going to be coming in the Cho pack, and all the things you're going to love to use to fail with Stella. So for those who might not know, just to kind of give a brief overview of everything, the starter packs are a product released in the year 2020 by Fantasy Flight Games for this wonderful game that we love, Arkham Horror the card game, that are designed for newer players to help get into the game and for seasoned investigators to enjoy a whole new slew of cards to build decks with. More investigators means more fun. That being said, I think we can jump into the first cards here.
Yeah, let's go right ahead and do it. So, let's see. So first, let's start with Guardian assets. All right, so we've got some boxing gloves. So there's two versions of this in the pack. There's a level 0 version and a level 3 version. The level 0 version is a asset, cost 3. It has one combat icon on it. It's an item and a weapon. You get +1 combat while fighting, and it has a reaction. After you defeat an enemy, exhaust boxing gloves, search the top 6 cards of your deck for a spirit event and add it to your hand, shuffle your deck, and it takes up 2 hand slots. The differences when you go from the level 0 to level 3 version is it goes from 3 cost to 2. You get an additional combat icon. The static combat bonus goes up from 1 to 2. And when you do the reaction ability, you get to search the top 9 cards for a spirit instead of the top 6. So what do we think about boxing gloves? This is a pretty interesting new take on what Guardians could use their hands for, right?
Yeah. So I mean, as we'll see when we go through this deck, I think this is the only weapon in the deck, the only hand slot. So it's basically it's for someone that doesn't actually want to use actions on their assets to punch stuff. It's if they want to, or at least not on the weapons. They might be using other cards to do damage or relying on basic fight actions. That seems unlikely.
If only there was an investigator that was perfectly suited to do that.
Yeah.
If only they designed someone.
That would be good. Very important. Obviously, the best use case for this is Versatile Calvin, so you can use it to get all these spirit events.
Well, you're forgetting Melteroni Joe, also a very strong choice. No, I mean, for real, I think what we're going to see about a lot of the cards in this deck is maybe more so than some of the other Investigator decks that we'll talk about in the next coming weeks. A lot of the cards in this deck are very tailored for Nathaniel specifically, right? And this seems like one of those to me. Like, I think it goes without saying that you definitely want to play this if you're playing Nathaniel. For real, though, like, setting aside the jokes, should other Guardians or Investigators consider playing this?
I was only half joking about the Versatile Calvin. He heavily weighs into spirit events, and then you could use this.
Doesn't he just crank his combat high enough with other means by taking damage?
Yeah, but there's like no good weapons for him that are that good anyway. Although there might be actually when we talk about survivor cards later, there actually are some now.
Just seems like it's not worth taking versatile to do something that gets you +1 combat. Because doesn't he use like fire axes and stuff anyway?
Yeah, he can. Yeah, I mean it's the search effect. I guess it's like if you have a lot of spirit events, which they do love to put spirit traded cards in Guardian, then this could help you accelerate to get some of those cards. I don't think it's like any other particular investigator really screams, "Oh, I should go boxing,"
so
as much as Nathaniel will. So
my rebuttal to that is the new cop, Tommy. He has access to the what's the one pip card, the ballroom card, where it looks like he's like throwing a chair at somebody across the way. It's the it's like it gives you 3 fight symbols if you're initiating a basic fight action, but only brute force. He has access to brute force. He has access to improvised weapon. So like he could actually use this and have it like affect those tests that are normally really unaffectable with weapons, because weapons only give you their buff, like, you know, in the only the perspective of their action, whereas this actually gives it to you anytime you're fighting. And I think this is the only thing that does that in this game now, right? Other than other like static combat weapons.
Like beat cop and stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe. I feel like Tommy like wants to try to use his Becky and.
I think you can consider that type of Tommy deck to be like a spin on the Nathaniel deck. Like you could play the boxing gloves plus combat events in Tommy instead, and you get access to like brute force and a couple of other cards, but you don't get access to Nathaniel's ability. But I think that's the bottom line. It's like most of the time in most Guardian decks, you should not play this. You should play weapons. But there is a specific type of like event-based Guardian deck where this could be very good.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah. Should we move on to the next card?
Let's do it.
All right. Okay. Somebody read the next card.
Dane.
The next card is Flesh Ward. Flesh Ward is a 3-cost asset. Has 1 will icon on it. It is a ritual. Uses 4 charges and is a triggered ability. When you're dealt damage and or horror from an enemy attack, you can exhaust Flesh Ward and spend 1 charge to cancel 1 damage or horror just dealt from that attack. It's got 1 health and 1 sanity of its own, and it takes up the arcane slot.
Kind of almost like a level 0 spiritual resolve in a little bit. I mean, it's not. It's actually quite different, but that was the first thing I thought of because it takes up the arcane slot.
Well, it's kind of like a baby arcane slot that helps mitigate damage and horror.
At first I thought this was pretty cool, and I think the more I read about it, the more kind of like skeptical I got, just because you only get to use it once per round because it exhausts itself, and also it only works on damage and horror from attacks. So you can't use it to soak incidental damage from treacheries, weaknesses, the encounter deck, locations, anything like that.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, is there still a reason to play this though?
Well, it's an arcane slot at level 0. Like Guardian doesn't really have access to much of the options for that right now. So if you're looking to fill up your slots, it's pretty okay. It cancels like 4 damage over the course of the game. Diana could use it to cancel some damage and then tuck it.
And immediately tuck it, yeah.
Yeah, and while she's trying to ramp up, then she doesn't necessarily want her actual mystic spells down yet. So
yeah, I mean, I think Diana, if you don't need your arcane slots, is a pretty reasonable use case because you do get potentially 4 cancels in 1 card.
I mean, it's also 4 cancels, and then you can also still soak another damage and horror on it. So it's kind of like 3. It's kind of like 3 and 3.
It's true. I mean, I think it's going to be kind of difficult to manage to use it 4 times and also get both the damage and horror on it. Like, it's going to be a little tricky, but
yeah. I mean, I guess what are you comparing it to? You're comparing it to like Medkit, right? Like Medkit is the only other thing in Guardian I think right now that can heal both damage and or horror, other than Hallowed Mirror.
First aid,
First aid. I'm sorry, not Medkit.
I think so. I think the thing. So one potential use case I can think of for this is like, suppose you're playing with the survival knife, and you're like, I want people to hit me because I'm using level 0 survival knife, but I'm a Guardian with only like 5 horror, and you're like, okay, I'm fine taking damage. I have like second wind or something to heal myself, but all these enemies that do like 1 damage and 1 horror, I really want to like prevent the horror part but take the damage. That's like a pretty narrow use case, but that's like the best thing I can think of.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see an upgraded version of it. That's really what I'm here for with this card. I'm excited. Hopefully, that someday it'll get like you can cancel 1 damage and horror. It'll like tank 2 damage, 2 horror for you, stuff like that.
I'm just disappointed that it exhausts itself. Like considering that it is $3 to play it, I just wish that you could like use it all up pretty fast. Like even just because it would be cool to be able to be like, oh, I have a cultist on me and I'm gonna like move 3 times and just each time I'm gonna like ward it off. That would be cool, but. Yeah, that's fine.
It is the first card that features Daniela on it.
Hey,
Oh, yeah, that's cool.
She was introduced in Arkham 3rd, right?
Do we think that means she's going to be a guardian? Probably.
That tends to be the trend, though it's not 100% true. But usually, they seem to put the characters on art that's for their class.
Interesting. Little
So
potential.
that'll be good.
Possible preview of possible preview.
Yeah, the most exciting thing about this makes me excited to run around and hit things with a wrench, which I assume will be her primary weapon as a mechanic. So,
oh man, I'm so excited.
Oh, that sounds great. There's some Ratchet and Clank stuff going on there. I'm excited too. Let's move on to the next card though, unless anyone has any last thoughts.
All right, next card is Grete Wagner.
You just learned how to pronounce this word very recently.
Did I?
If Tim is out there,
taught me how to speak German, and I forgot.
I did. I taught you how to speak perfect German.
Well, Miss Wagner, the Purifier.
Oh, I did it wrong.
What? Wait, is it
keep
Wagner?
Hey, way
There
to
we
go,
go.
man.
All right. So she is a guardian asset, cost 5, intellect, combat icon, an ally, and a hunter. You get +1 combat. Reaction after you defeat an enemy, exhaust Gret, and deal 1 damage to her. Discover 1 clue at your location. The quote on it is, with salt and iron, with water and fire. Great, love it. 3 health, 2 sanity, and takes up the ally slot. Her upgraded level 3 version has a wild icon it as well. It also gives passive +1 intellect. And you can discover a clue at your location or a connecting location with her reaction trigger. Oh, and she has 4 health instead of 3. So, yeah, I like the theme of this card a lot. The art on it's very cool. There's a lady stabbing some type of amigo or something with a large pole type weapon. So that's great.
That is some really badass art.
oh man, I'm so excited for her.
Yeah, she's a. I'm trying to think what else in Guardian other than Beat Cop gives you just the +1 combat bonus as an ally.
There's really not a lot. I think it's just Beat Cop, right?
Yeah, so this is like a kind of a great alternative. It's like kind of a combination of Beat Cop and Alice, right? Because Alice is after you defeat an enemy, you get a clue, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, it's tricky because like the rough thing about Beat Cop is already their cost 4, which is already a lot, and this costs 5. Like that's pretty tough. I mean, for some people like Zoe, maybe it's easier.
I mean, she's definitely a good hunting partner for Zoe, for hunting down and smiting evil. So excited for that in a Zoe deck.
I think.
I don't know how good
Larry Anderson also maybe.
Yeah, I'm excited. Honestly, in Roland, like Roland solo, this is the perfect ally for him because it gives him the intellect he needs. It also gives him the combat he needs, and then get even more clues. Like when you murder something, you're getting 2 clues. If you got evidence, just pile it on top.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. I think the level 3 version is like a great solo Rolo card.
Yeah, and you can go hard into that effect. Like you can use her and Alice with charisma, and then and the evidence you can get like 4 cards by killing something on Roland.
Oh yeah,
4 clues, which would be pretty fun.
I think it's just like the enemy explodes into like a pinata full of clues. Like they just like kill them so hard that just like clues just come flying out instead of blood. It's like, aha!
I assume they ate the evidence, right? You kill her and explode. It's like
then you have to go. You have to go rummaging around in their stomachs. I do. Yeah. I mean, I think that in multiplayer games where if you're a guardian, you're more likely to be a dedicated fighter. You should probably play Beat Cop instead of this because. There are generally cheaper ways to be able to succeed on combat tests than this, if that's all you're trying to do. But if you are playing in like a 1 or 2 player game where each individual clue is worth a lot, then this is a pretty strong choice. Especially if you can like upgrade into the upgraded version and make use of the intellect as well. In mostly in Roland is like Dan said, like the one that I'm thinking of most. Then I think it's pretty strong.
Yeah, for sure.
I think she's interesting. Let's move on.
Anything? Okay, let's move on to the next card. The next card is physical training. So we have there's a reprint of the level 0 version. There already is a level 2 version already printed, but that's not in this deck. And then there's a new level 4 version. So physical training, cost 2 guardian asset, 2 willpower icons, 2 combat icons, talent, uses 2 resources, replenish these resources at the start of each round. Instant action, spend 1 resource from your resource pool or from physical training, you get +1 willpower or +1 combat for the skill test. Wow, finally an opportunity to use my recurring credit tokens from my stealth text. That's going to be
there
great.
It is.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. I mean, I think all I can say about this is like the fact that it replenishes itself is pretty cool, because it means that, like, obviously you can pump money into it if you have money, but even if you don't, like, just baseline, you basically get kind of like a guts or an overpower every turn with this, you know?
Yeah.
So
And it's even more versatile than that, right? Because you could split it up amongst 2 different tests. Like if you're Zoe or somebody who has just a lot of will anyway, this is great. Like I could see going into this. One of our good friends, Colin, loves using well prepared, well connected, the whole series. He likes prepared with.
Although having this and that might be like overkill in the sense that like just having one of them might be good enough.
You can include both to.
And I think that also the choice of, I mean, this applies to all versions of the card, but the choice to boost both combat and willpower is really good, because like everybody needs willpower. So some of these, right. The one that boosts like, intellect and agility or something, it's like not a lot of decks need both of those things, but this one, any fighting deck can use both of these things.
Yeah, definitely strong. Do you think it's worth 4 experience to get this? Like, I guess it's like 2 resources every turn that you can use only for boosting stats.
I would do it in Circle Undone. Circle Undone, these are just going to be constant will tests, and you're going to get your money's worth out of it.
I think it's either like a late game XP soak when you have a ton of XP and you're just looking for things to bling out your deck, or it's like in a potential Guardian deck that maybe doesn't exist yet where you're very, very rich. It's actually really good. It's either of those 2 things.
I mean, also Sister Mary's coming out, right? She's going to be. I'm assuming anyway that she's going to lean into to Mystic as well. So that could suit her pretty well.
Maybe, yeah. We'll have to stay tuned and try to figure that out. For now, though, anything else to say about physical training? Then let's move on.
Let's move on.
Damn.
So next card is Relentless. Relentless is a 0-cost asset, has a combat symbol, has a agility symbol on it, and a triggered ability. When you deal excess damage to an enemy, exhaust Relentless, place that excess damage on Relentless, then as a fast action and discarding, gain resources equal to the amount of damage on it.
Is there a legit typo on this card? I'm looking at the bottom line.
Gain resources equal to
THA damage.
Scan. Yeah,
I mean, this might be like it might be like just in the preview, and maybe in the actual printed cards it's corrected. But I'm curious to see how that shakes out.
I think this is the. Was this?
It wouldn't be the first time.
I don't know.
It would not be the first time.
I recall one of these cards definitely had like the wrong symbol on it. Like it has a fast action instead of a reaction or something.
Yeah.
I don't remember which card it was though. Hopefully I'll remember.
So speaking of symbol of like action and reaction and instant trigger symbols, the thing that I do like a lot about this card is that you can discard it instantly to gain resources on it. Because
that is true, yeah.
Do you remember that? What was that earlier card, Investments, where it was like a card that accumulated money, but then you had to spend an action to cash it in? That made it like basically unplayable, I think, because what makes this really strong is you can let it keep accumulating money until the moment that you really need that money, and then you can just immediately cash it in. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It makes it so you're a little bit less hesitant to like waste a gun shot to like deal 2 damage when the enemy only has 1 health left or whatever, because you can like get that money back somehow. But how often do you actually do that in a game?
That's the thing. Like, you still want to conserve your ammo pretty well, I think, right? I mean, but maybe, if you're playing with something like a flamethrower or some gun that does like a lot of damage, maybe you can play enough like extra ammunitions, adventurers, and things that like you can keep it refilled, and then each of those shots gets you like even more money. I mean, I don't think that's like a full deck yet, but it's an interesting idea.
Yeah. I mean,
you're
one
right.
of the uses about it is that, like, way long ago, in an age long past called the age of the machete, you had a something to stick around that would just murder things. You didn't have to worry about charges. You didn't have to worry about ammo. Now, though, we don't really have that to a greater extent. We have it in like maybe Meat Cleaver if Zoe or Tommy's importing it or something like that. But without like a weapon that can like stay in without having to worry about the charges, this gets better, right? Like if you have like the big obsidian thing, the level 5 neutral card.
Time War Brand.
Yeah, if you have like Brand or something like that, and you just hit rats, then this is just bonus, right? This is just fluff. But
there's also maybe in Skids who wants money and who often uses the ornate bow, which is like a lot of times it does 3 damage, but you might shoot things with 2 health a lot. I don't know. I don't know if this is amazing, but it seems so much fun. I really do want to try it.
Yeah, I mean, in Skids, like if he's using like succeed by 2 weapons or whatever, like Switchblade or Derringers or whatever. I was gonna say Tony, but Tony can't take.
There's
great for Tony, but
there's also dynamite potentially, right? So you could dynamite a swarm and quickly get you could dynamite a swarm in Dream Eaters and pretty quickly put like 6 damage on this.
Yeah, we solved it. It's the dynamite a giant massive enemies, kill them all, get a ton of money.
Great. Yeah, man,
amazing.
Or
it's
grenade
amazing.
Also.
Sorry.
Yeah. Ideal situation here. Diana takes this with 2 dynamites and 2 storm of spirits, goes into Dream Eaters, and blows up all the swarms and gets $1 million out of it.
And then uses that money for something.
Seems like
I guess Zoe could do it too. She could just import both 2 storm of spirits.
She dumps it all into physical training. Hey.
I don't know. It came full circle.
Definitely seems like an interesting card. So I like the art on it too, because it's like a punching bag. It's like, oh, they hit it so hard they knocked off the chain because they were so relentless.
So far, this gets my pick for like the most fun seeming card that we've seen so far. So
I agree.
Let's move on to the next one though.
All right, so the last Guardian event is Safeguard. We've seen the level 2 version of this before, but this is the level 0 version included. It's cost 2, has 1 little power. The ability is after another investigator moves from your location to a connecting location, exhaust Safeguard, move to that location. And this is definitely a big power down from Safeguard level 2, which was you can exhaust it, and then for the remainder of the round, you move. When that investigator moves from your location to a connecting location, you may move with them. So,
which really just read never take another move action for the rest of the game.
Instead of endless piggyback rides, it's only a single piggyback ride per turn. So
it's not really piggyback ride. It's more like you're guarding someone and they like walked away into the other room. You're like, oh, where'd they go? And you run after them. Because by the time you run after them, the monster in the next room has already jumped on them. So which with the upgraded Safeguard, you can move around and like have monsters jump on you because the timing's all the same.
Oh, I didn't notice that. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
That too.
So I mean, this is like it's fine. I don't know. Like Safeguard level 2 is so good and very funny in terms of the piggyback riding.
I've become more of a skeptic of how good Safeguard level 2 is recently after playing with it a bunch. I still think it's very fun. I think it's not super awesome. This level 0 version, I probably just wouldn't play it. Like play like Shortcut or something if you can instead. If you're like Mark or somebody. And if you want Safeguard, probably just wait for the level 2 version would be what I would recommend. I don't know.
Yeah, that discrepancy between after an investigator moves from your location and during another investigator, you move with them. That's actually a really big difference because there are so many times where you just have a guardian on your back and you need to move around as your seeker or whatever, and there are just enemies in rooms and rooms and rooms, and you can Pathfinder. The guardian will just snatch them all up as you move, investigate freely. This you can't do that with. So that's actually like a lot less accessibility. I honestly was just putting it in decks because I'm like, well, now I don't have to think about cards I have to take out for double safeguard level 2. I could just already have them in there and not have to worry about it. But yeah, that's true. That's definitely a big deterrent. But maybe even still for like Carolyn would probably still like not taking move actions if she could just have the Guardian move and then she'll just get clues later.
Yeah, that's fair.
It seems fine.
And it does still have a will icon, probably the best icon. So moving on to the next card though.
Yeah.
Okay. Time to talk about Guardian events. Okay, so we have Get Over Here, which looks Mortal Kombat themed potentially. So
we need that altar.
So the level 0 version is a Guardian event, cost 2, level 0, has a willpower and a combat icon on it. It's a spirit and a tactic. Oh boy. Engage, fight, choose a non-elite enemy at your location or a connecting location, move that enemy to your location, engage it, and attack it. The level 2 version is the same, except that it adds a second willpower icon. It becomes fast, play during any instant lightning bolt window, and you can choose a non-elite enemy up to 2 locations away. So it's fast, and you get to do it for an enemy up to 2 locations away instead of 1, and it gets that extra willpower icon.
During any free trigger window, that seems like that's a recipe for nonsense.
That's going to get weird because you can do it like while somebody is resolving a test to do any random thing on an encounter card. So that's going to be very weird.
You can do it during the enemy phase, like after the enemies move, and you can be like, "No, come back here," and pull it back across the map to you and punch it and kill it. Maybe.
My immediate concern is like those guys in Circle and Done, where when they engage you have to take an agility test, and then if you fail it, they become engaged with you. Like, what happens when the Guardian, or like, let's say the Seeker, they jump on the Seeker, they initiate that test, you immediately play Get Over Here. Do they still resolve that test? Then it engages with them, and then you engage, since it engages with you, it stacks that test on top of that test, and then put that test inside another test.
I look forward to you asking Ben on Discord about this, various things related to this card very frequently.
They FAQ'd it, so you can't initiate another test inside of a test. It wouldn't start till that used to be a thing, and now it's not. So
that's a real bummer. I do also, Ben, do you remember in WoW the Death Knights had that Death Grip ability where you could like yoink an enemy to you, and it was like the most fun thing ever? This is also kind of like that. That was a really fun button to push.
I know. The level 0 one, even by itself, is pretty powerful. Just in terms of action compression, because it can save you a move and an engage action, and then you punch it. And you probably only do 1 damage when you punch it, unless you're comboing it with like Nat's ability or other cards. But
Brute Force, that kind of thing. Oh no, Brute Force wouldn't even work.
Like too many in the card to do basically 3 actions.
I mean, the only thing I would say is, I think Let Me Handle This is already kind of a sort of similar card in that you can use it. I mean, it doesn't work in all the same situations, but like it helps you get an enemy off of somebody if they're far away from you. And I think that card is free and a little bit more flexible. So I would maybe lean towards sticking with that one. But this works in some situations that Let Me Handle This doesn't work in. And it seems really fun. And you do get to punch them for 1 damage, which is kind of cool. So...
yeah, I think this is like the kind of the reactive to Let Me Handle This as proactiveness, where like if you're just going to be taking enemies anyways and you don't really want to deal with like treacheries or the person that you're with, let's say they're a mystic and they don't really care about treacheries, you taking treacheries, you might consider this card more, especially if you're Zoe, because then you just get the $1 back, or one of the dollars back anyway. And then you can just pull exactly what you need to be pulling off, which is the enemies. So
Harrison mentioned in the chat that he's going to use it on some stupid birds. That's a good point. Also, Sukrik Dam says some guests in the hotel. I would add to that cultists. This is great for killing cultists.
Yeah, absolutely.
Enemy.
So that's if you're in like Echoes of the Past or something, and you're like desperately trying to. Well, I forget if there's the acolytes in that one, but like basically any scenario with acolytes, this is probably pretty okay.
I mean, I find it hard that you can just scream "Get over here" to the next train car over as your car is being sucked into a portal.
Oh, it's
but
incredible.
you get to pull him in. You're like, "Hey, get over here!" And he's like, he sees the portal behind you, and he just sprints towards you anyway.
Really, really good for Essex County Express, definitely. I think, and you're definitely going to play this in Nathaniel because it's a fight event, And I think in other decks it might be kind of like a fun like special sauce card, or like for a specific scenario, like if you can adaptable it in for Essex County Express, you totally would. But it definitely a pretty cool card.
It might be nice for like a Tony that's doing Guardian. You can use it to like grab his weakness if it's too far away, because saving like 3 actions there to
That's great.
maybe kill it before it causes everyone to lose a turn could be pretty good.
That's a fair point. Yeah. Anything else to say about Get Over Here?
No, let's keep it rolling.
All right.
There's only like 40 more cards to talk about. So.
We're moving along. We're moving along.
All right, next card is Clean Them Out. It is a 0 cost, level 0 Guardian event. It is one will symbol, 1 combat symbol. It's a spirit and a tactic, like most of these cards will be. It says fight. When this action begins, gain 2 resources. Time to tighten up some screws. I was sad that this one didn't have an upgraded version.
I'm kind of surprised this isn't illicit, just because you're basically shaking someone down, right?
I mean, she looks like she's about to break his neck. That's the screw. It's the metaphor. Yeah.
I thought it was like tightening the screws, like threatening someone to give you money, or else you're gonna like break their legs or something, like a gangster would do.
I guess.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, this is like a replacement for emergency cast, sort of, because it lets you like still punch something while gaining 2 money.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a nice action question card. Lets you still punch stuff. If you're playing Nat, then of course you can maybe do 2 damage with the attack.
Sorry, if you're playing the 40 card Anarch runner with 40 card deck size Nat, is that who we're talking about? I thought we were talking about Nathaniel Cho. Yeah.
Obviously, who I was talking about.
I mean, yeah, I think you definitely play this in Nathaniel because that's his whole deal. I don't really think you should play this in other decks, just because how often do you want to do a non-weapon basic fight unless you're Nathaniel, you know?
Exactly, yeah. My gripe with this card, as it pertains to the other cards, is kind of a whole cycle of these where it says, like, do something and then gain 2 resources. So for Burning the Midnight Oil is the Secret equivalent. That has 2 intellect icons on it, and then there's also a rogue variant that's like just evade, gain $2, and then that has 2 agility icons on it. I was kind of sad not to see 2 fight icons, because that would immediately boost this in my mind to being like, well, okay, I mean, if you're running Crystallizer on Larry or something like that, then it could at least go under that as 2 fight icons, or you can just commit it when you don't need that, and it's still fine.
Isn't that time to talk about Dane's obsession with Crystallizer? I feel like it's not. There's so many other cards to talk about.
I've been putting it off because I just feel like it's going to be a whole thing. He's going to cry when we tell him it's not good. So let's save that. Maybe we'll do a whole episode about it. I don't know, an intervention with Dane about Crystallizer.
I mean, Turkadem does make a good point, though. It's emergency guys with the chance to get retaliated.
Yeah, I also
very apt.
Yeah, Dane, like you said, double combat would make it cool. I also, even double will would, I think, be better than this. Because everyone can use that. But yeah, it seems cool. Played in Nathaniel, I think probably not in other decks unless you have a really good reason to, but it's a neat card.
Yeah. Honestly, the chance to get retaliated, that's just more reason for Calvin to use this, right? Like, come on.
Yeah, I think every event in this a spirit? I guess not. I guess some of them
you gotta find it with the boxing gloves. So anyway, anything else, or should we move on? Moving on.
So look at the next set of cards. Counterpunch. This is a pair of cards. It's a level 0 Guardian event with a combat and agility icon. It's a spirit and a tactic. Fast. Play after an enemy attacks you, even if that attack was canceled. Fight. This attack targets the attacking enemy. And the upgraded version is level 2. Has an extra combat icon. The trigger is fast. Play when an enemy attacks you, which means before resolving that attack. Fight. This attack targets the attacking enemy, and you get +2 combat and deal +1 damage for this attack. So this is like a bonus fight action. Basically, you'll trade a card. You're trading out a card to get an extra fight attack. The upgraded one is nice because you can maybe kill the enemy before it actually hits you.
That's true.
Which is cool.
Yeah.
You can also play it during. You can play it whether you provoke an AOO or during enemy phase, or if you can play it any time. It's just if the enemy's attacking you, which is nice.
I love that it's free. I love that it doesn't cost resources. Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. For all those Dark Horse Guardians out there.
The upgraded one would be more likely, I think, to put in more decks, just because it's before the enemy attacks. So that's more versatile. You're not relying on like comboing off some other card, and you get to do the extra damage. Level 1 one's like, or level 0 one's like,
You need the enemy to attack you though. So like if you're trying to pull an enemy off of somebody else, which is a pretty common thing for Guardians, it's like, if you engage them at the end of your turn and then they punch you and then you play this, it's like you could have just fought them maybe. I don't know. I think it might be
a good point though. It's something that you can stack with upgraded survival knife, right? Because if you have both 2 counter punches and up 2 upgraded survival knives, you just go ape on an enemy phase and just shank them and punch them and
it definitely works nice with survival knife.
That would be pretty cool.
I think it works okay with like the bold cards, the ones that you have to like play first action. Maybe like you want to play one of those for some reason, you got an enemy during Mythos phase, so you use this to punch them and then play whatever card it is.
That's pretty cool, like second win and stuff. Yeah, that's
oh wait, Calvin loves it because it
that's right.
He'd have the enemy attack him, and he'll that boosts his stats, and then he gets to punch him back.
It's also, unlike survival knife, it does work on AOs, right? So you can
it's definitely more versatile than survival knight in that aspect.
I think it seems like I think like all of these events, you're going to play it in Nathaniel, and then it's maybe harder to say whether you're going to play it in other Guardians, but I think at least like Calvin might want the level 0 version, and it might be fun for other Guardians to play like one copy of the level 2. So
yeah.
I mean, Tony could play the level 0 version just to have extra, even more fight actions on his turn.
Seems dumb. Seems
and
bad.
And more things to put on Crystallizer.
Yeah. See,
never mind. Take it back.
Let's move on. So we have a reprint of Dodge. That's cool. We don't have to talk about that one.
So
and then we have a new version of Dynamite Blast, a fun card that everybody loves. So
this is the bee's knees.
This is a 4-cost level 3 event, Dynamite Blast. It has 2 will icons and 2 combat icons. It is still a tactic. It says fast. Play during any instant action window. Holy crap. Choose either your location or a connecting location. Deal 3 damage to each enemy and investigator at the chosen location. So compared to the original Dynamite, the only difference from this is it is 1 cheaper. It gets an extra will icon and 2 fight icons, and it becomes fast. Compared to the level 2 version, it basically becomes fast instead of ignoring AOs, and it gets extra icons.
So I scrolled back up. I'm very disappointed. Relentless only gives you money if it's an enemy you deal damage to. So you can't use Dynamite to heroically sacrifice a couple of your allies.
Little weird that you'd even consider that, Ben. I don't know.
That comes up sometimes.
Oh man,
this is so much better than regular Dynamite. It's ridiculous. Like this is just making it fast is so awesome.
Fast is so powerful.
It's like it's during any window too. Like this is another one of those things where it's like, oh god.
It's like supersonic dynamite that is you just throw it and it immediately booms. Super good.
I just love that they reprinted this. I'm sure they just had a whole bunch of different Guardian cards on the table that they needed to reprint events for that dealt damage and things like that. And they chose Dynamite Blast for a 3rd iteration. And this is it. We get Supersonic Dynamite. I'm so happy with it.
The only reason that I ever don't play Dynamite in Guardian decks is that it's too expensive. But that is like often the case. Like often I don't play Dynamite. But
when you use to kill a swarm with your Relentless out, you get like
if you can afford to pay the 4, then you should just always. This is super good. This is like a really solid card.
And it even goes on Stick to the Plan, and then you just play it fast for later. Yeah. You only need 1.
Yeah, great. Seems really good.
Seems great. Not much else to say, honestly, right?
Yeah.
Let's hooray for Dynamite. That's all I can think of to say about this. Yeah. Thank you, Dynamite. Thank you, Mr. Dynamite, for saving us from less interesting cards. Damn.
Next card up is Evidence. So the old version here, as compared to the new version, which is a level 1 Guardian event, costs 1 resource still, has 2 intellect icons. What's new about it, though, fast, play after you defeat an enemy, discover 1 clue at your location, 2 clues instead if you defeated enemies with a total combined value of 4 printed health this turn. So you can potentially get double the clues. It's 100% more clues.
I mean, there's a lot of enemies that just have 4 health, so
it
is great.
Let God solve the crime. That's what this one is called.
Yeah, I am very excited to combo this into any deck that can use Let God Sort Them Out and be like, well, guys, not only will I get extra experience if I spend my whole turn killing this enemy that has 6 health, jumping through a bunch of hoops, but I'll also discover clues, and also discover clues will get people on board with me playing.
I mean, this one is at least fast, right? So that's compared to Let God Sort Them Out. That's a pretty big improvement.
Yeah, I mean, like 1 experience to make this probably a good amount of the time, probably get you 2 clues instead of 1 seems pretty good.
I think I would still tend to play Scene in a lot of Guardian decks. Probably, but this is a reasonable alternative to that, especially a lot of it depends on, there's some scenarios like Black Star's Rise that are just like full of dudes with 4 health, or like where the Godswell has the Liars. Like, if you know that you're in one of those scenarios, then this becomes a lot better. Maybe you like swap it in for like the last or second to last scenario.
Yeah, I mean, even in Dunwich, like Humble Dunwich, you've got those annoying Yithin observers, like in the first scenario, I think, like in the school, and they have 4 health each. This is so great for solo, like it will just clear off a tile entirely, a location entirely rather, and then for higher player counts, it even works better. It packs more of a punch than regular evidence.
I feel like in solo it's a little bit harder to pull off because there's not as many locations that have 2 clues.
Yeah,
it's not as good.
But you know what? It's a really good fit in is any of the like final scenarios in most of the campaigns, like the Lost in Time and Space type scenarios. Yeah. They're often like everyone needs to pick up clues. Like Lost in Time and Space, even your Guardian needs clues to like escape at the end. And they often have big beefy enemies like the spaghetti monsters in Before the Black Throne. So like I think this could be a really good like throw in 1 copy of it or 2 copies of it in the last scenario if you have 1 XP left for Guardians.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a nice like 1 XP card. Oh, yeah, I like it.
Helps Tony too.
Yeah. Anything else to say about Evidence Level 1?
More pinata for the pinata name.
I don't know what that means. Yeah, next card is Galvanize. It is a level 1 event, cost 2 with 2 willpower icons. It's a spirit card. Fast, play only during your turn. Ready, a guardian asset you control. You may take an additional action during your turn, which can only be used to fight.
So you get an extra asset to fight things, or you get an extra action to fight things, and you get to reset one of your assets. That's
one of your guardian access.
Yeah. Which is the main thing I can think of about it is like Beat Cop, probably.
Yeah, it's like read Beat Cop.
Beat Cop. I mean, it works on Gretz and Alice and Venturer. A lot of the allies actually exhaust, don't they, for Guardians?
Yeah. Oh yeah, well connected too. Socerdem in the chat here.
Yeah, that's true.
Can Ash somehow take this card to Ready Duke? I think no. Nope, it won't work at all. Nope.
Not until Versatile level 5 comes out, and then you can do it.
So like I think it'd be okay in like Leo. By Leo, of course, I mean Larry Anderson. Because he has lots of allies that he likes to use the Venturer. I think Tommy likes to maybe use Venturers too. So he likes to get the Venturers out, use them to give him ammo on like Becky or something, and then murder the Venturer to get money.
Yeah, Venture is already a card that like when I put it in a deck, I kind of grit my teeth like, is this really a good idea? And then when I actually play the deck, I'm like, I should not have put Venture in this deck. But I don't want to put in other cards that are there to like support Venture. But I mean, the bottom line is like this has 2 willpower icons on it. That kind of makes it automatically like the floor on how good this can be is like pretty okay, you know?
Yeah, it does cost an experience though, which, you know, I don't know. I think it's okay. I think it depends on your deck. Just trying to think of what. There's not that many assets in this that came in this deck.
Well, the boxing gloves, right?
I guess Flesh Ward. You can ready Fresh Ward, ready boxing gloves. I guess most of the stuff.
There's also maybe some nonsense with like Skids playing Payday or something, or Tony playing Payday, where you could get even more actions that could be kind of fun. So
yeah, that's fair.
Guys, I just went back and I looked at Relentless. Relentless exhausts itself.
It does.
When you deal Ionies. That means you can't dynamite a giant location.
Wait, really? Okay, we gotta go back for 1 sec.
Yeah. Because I was like, what can I untap? And the answer is
send the script back.
But you can still, if you hit one enemy for like 4 overkill damage, you can put all 4 on it and then you exhaust it. You just can't.
You can't use it on like a swarm and dynamite it and get
Okay.
like $20.
That's what Galvanize is for.
That's very sad.
That does make it less fun. I don't know. Relentless still fun, still cool. Anything else about Galvanize, or should we move on?
Pretty interesting card. But yeah.
I think it's.
Calvin can play it.
The next card is a
again.
The next card is a Guardian event, level 1. This is a new card, 2 intellect icons. It's called Glory. It is a spirit, like every other event in this pack. Fast, play after you defeat an enemy. Draw 2 cards. Interesting. And I like the art a lot because it's just a guy winning a boxing match, and he's like, "Yeah, I won the boxing match! Hooray for me! I'm the winner!"
I'm very happy with this card.
I mean, it's a card that you're paying 1 in a card to draw 2 cards. Right? It's not.
Yeah. Not amazing. I mean, if you're really strapped for cards and you really can't spend actions to draw them, then it's okay because you can. But then it's like just play like Overpower or level 2 Overpower and stuff maybe to draw more cards.
It does have 2 intellect icons on it, so it's like better than a perception, but I'm not super excited about it.
If you're gonna investigate though, right?
Yeah. Which I mean, like Roland could use it, or Carolyn or whatever.
I think it's a good impression one.
I wish this was like 1 question mark icon and like free, and I think then I would maybe think about playing it.
I like it because there are some Guardians who struggle with like drawing though. Like Zoe doesn't really have like a way to draw unless you like import cigarette cases. Roland, I guess he's got like sketches and things, but like this is like the cheapest way to draw, like to redraw a couple cards.
But this is like you have to be able to kill an enemy to do it. So if you're in the early game and you're just trying to draw to set up and there's no enemies to kill, this is dead. And even if you do play it, it just replaces itself and gives you 1 extra card.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think most of these, like the 2 intellect is extremely worth noting for the fact that solo, like if it's dead in your hand and early on and you don't have any enemies, you can just chuck it for 2 in, and that's like fine. That's
a fair point. What's Nathaniel's int? Does anybody remember?
I think it's 2.
Yeah, so solo Nathaniel maybe. Other than that, I don't think I'd play it. But it's I do like the art a lot though.
Yeah.
I'll play it.
Anything else about Glory or? All right.
No, let's move on.
So next card is Lesson Learned. It's got a good picture of Tom Waits there. It is a 1-cost event, level 2. It has a will symbol and 2 intellect icons. It is an insight and a spirit. And it is fast. Play after you take damage from an enemy attack. Discover 2 clues at your location. This is like pretty cool. This is so another alternative to evidence and scene of the crime. Here we have something that Calvin loves.
This is like the combination of like the art and the name of it. This is like one of my favorite cards in the deck, even though I'm not sure if it's like incredible for 2 XP, but I really love it a lot.
Yeah, I'm down with this card. I like it a lot. I think that 2 experience is pretty big. I think that the most you see like in a 3 or 4 player game, it might be a little tough to consider like for 2 experience, because as a main guardian, you might just be like burning stuff with a flamethrower or like just kind of trying to get your beat cops upgraded and stuff. But if you're in like 2 player or even just single player, and you have to deal with enemies, again, you can just chuck it for the 2 int if there's no enemies. If you're in 2 player and you're a guardian, you also kind of want to have the versatility to pick up your slack on the clues. So I could definitely see using this card in that situation.
It is I love the art so much. That's a very like early, like a 30s gangster movie kind of a face on this guy.
Yeah.
It is really works. The timing is a little awkward, I think, for Captain Hunch, because so with Captain Hunch, you reveal the top card of the Hunch deck at the beginning of Investigator phase, and then at the end of your turn, I think the card goes away if you didn't play it, right?
That's right. Yeah.
So you can't like see this on top of your Hunch deck and plan to take a hit in enemy phase.
Right.
You'd have to get AO'd on purpose, which is like.
I don't know. I mean, as mentioned, I think it's good for Calvin. It's another way for Guardians to get clues, which they didn't have too much. didn't have too many options, but this set of cards has definitely added to that. So.
If I was like a really hardcore, like Guardians are my favorite class, I only play Guardians, I would so far be a little bit annoyed at this deck because it's basically like a Calvin solo deck so far. like a lot of these cards are good and fun for Guardians, but like all of them are good for like solo Calvin, and it's like,
but then like the one card that ties the whole engine together you can't play as Calvin because it's not a spirit, it's boxing gloves.
He doesn't really need it though.
It's but
yeah, I mean it is, that's true. Like the fact that all these are spirits does mean that like when you box, if you're playing like this deck as it is in the box as Nathaniel, like every time you hit something with boxing gloves and trigger boxing gloves, you're gonna get something, you know?
Yeah, no, that's great. I think that's why like Glory is pretty okay in Cho, because you're gonna hit something, you're gonna play your Glory, or you're gonna find your Glory, and then you could potentially play it that turn, which is nice.
That is true. That does make Glory a little bit more interesting. Anything else about Lesson Learned?
Actually, the same timing point, so you could draw it and then immediately play it to draw more cards.
Yeah. Time to move on.
All right, so Mano a Mano makes its return. So we saw the level 1 version before. This deck has a level 2 version. It is a 0-cost event with a wheel and a combat icon. Play only as your first action. It's Spirit and Bold. Deal 2 damage to an enemy engaged with you. This action does not provoke attacks of opportunity. So it's a card that does 2 damage testlessly.
Definitely love the simplicity of they literally just took the original card and replaced the number 1 with 2 in 2 places. That's pretty fun. Yeah.
Oh man, it's pretty fine.
I mean, this unfortunately does not work. This doesn't do much if you are Nathaniel, because it's not a fight action, right? Like it is Spirit, so you can find it with the gloves, but it doesn't.
It doesn't. Yeah, you can't use his bonus, his ability to do an extra damage. I don't think.
I thought it was from a fight event.
Ability is when you deal damage to an enemy by an event, so you could use
an event. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, no, because this is fantastic.
So he triggers off of dynamite and stuff too. Then that's pretty cool.
Yeah, but it's only one enemy that dynamite triggers off of. That's still
right.
Or something.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't. I mean, so again, assume Nathaniel's probably going to play this. Is anybody else going to play this?
Well, nobody really played regular Mano a Mano, I don't think. Maybe it's desperate, or maybe in higher difficulties where you don't want to do tests.
Yeah, like
that's a good point.
Expert, probably this might be pretty good.
Yeah, I could see taking Mano a Mano like in Expert, where you just have cultists to deal with and you have to punch them.
But I think you also get like no XP in Experts, and you have to spend what little you do get on like level 2 hard knocks and level 2 physical training and stuff, so you can dump money into everything. I don't know, but yeah, maybe good in Expert. So time to move on.
Yeah.
Okay, and we have a very interesting card. So we have Monster Slayer level 0. There was previously a level 5 version of this card. This one is cost 0, level 0. It's a Guardian event, 1 wild symbol. It's a spirit fight. This attack deals +1 damage. So the level 5 version costs 1, has a additional combat icon, and it's fight. If this attack succeeds against an non-elite enemy, defeat that enemy. So this is like a very baby junior powered down version of Monster Slayer, which Monster Slayer is like, I'm a huge fan of it. I think most people don't like it very much. This is like a completely different card, basically.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like the very base. It's like kind of like Vicious Blow for Nathaniel Cho. Most people wouldn't necessarily think about taking this because they just take Vicious Blow and they're kind of fine with that. But I could see running this card if you wanted to like have more Vicious Blow type things and have an event-based deck. I was honestly thinking about taking a Tommy deck with all the like fight events and like brute forcing and punching things with your fists and stuff, and thought that might be cool and thematic. But really, you just play Monster Slayer level 5 because it's basically Waylay, right? Because like it just deals with so many huge, big, beefy enemies, and like this not even close to the same thing.
Yeah, I think it's like if you were playing like a completely event focused deck with double, or if there's some future card that's like when you play an event draw a card or something, then maybe that's worth thinking about. And then also for Nathaniel, maybe worthwhile. But other than that, I mean, like I said, I'm a big fan of the level 5 Monster Slayer, and even I probably wouldn't play this. But
yeah, I mean, Super Dam mentioned in chat that this one you can actually use on elite enemies, unlike the level 5 Monster Slayer.
That is a good point. Yeah, that is true. It would be so funny if you couldn't.
You're right. This is mostly for event-focused decks. I don't see a reason to play this in a regular deck.
Moving on.
One of the cooler cards printed here, I think. 1-2 Punch. It is a level 0, and then we've got the level 5 event here for it. They both cost 2. The level 0 version has 1 combat icon. The level 5 version has 4 combat icons. They're both Spirit Tactic. The level 0 version, fight, you get +1 for this attack. If you succeed, you may fight that enemy again, and then if you do, you get +2 combat and deal +1 damage for that attack. And then in the upgraded version, it says fight, you automatically succeed and deal +1 damage for this attack, and then you may fight again, and then you get +3 combat and +2 damage for that attack. So that's a huge difference in like what you're going to be doing to that enemy.
It is. I think it's really funny that we looked at this card right after Monster Slayer, because the level 5 version of this is probably just like a better Monster Slayer level 5. Right? Because if you think about it, like how much health can a non-elite enemy ever have? There's definitely some that have 6, like Conglomeration of Spheres. Yeah. Has anyone ever seen a non-elite enemy with more than 6 health?
I think the Apex Strangleweed in the Forgotten 7. I think they're like 3-7-2 or something like that.
I thought that was
maybe
5.
It's 6.
Maybe you're right. But anyway, like most of the time, if you connect with both hits with the level 5 1-2 punch, you're gonna kill something. So as long as you can pass 2 tests instead of 1, and you get bonuses on them, unlike Monster Slayer, like it's effectively kill anything.
Well, the level 5 you succeed automatically on the first attack.
Oh yeah. So you still only have to pass 1 test, right? And what's cool about both of these, is I think you can split them up. You can attack one enemy and then do the second one to another enemy, right?
Well, the first one says specifically, if you succeed, you may fight that enemy again.
Oh yeah.
But the level 5 one just says you may fight again. So
wow, that's so cool.
That's really great. Yeah.
2 enemies. Doesn't really match the 1-2 punch, if that's how
pretty
that works,
good. And the level 5 version also has 4 combat symbols. Like I think most of the time you're going to play this, but if you're very poor and you really need to hit something, you can just commit this, right?
Right.
Or you can put it on Crystallizer.
No, I was gonna say
that's what I'm saying.
You could put it on what is it? Well prepared. I forgot the name. No, stick to the plan. You put on stick to the plan. It's a tactic.
It is. Yeah. Oh yeah,
that's
fantastic. Yeah. Are you kidding me? Like you get level 4 dynamite on stick to the plan, and you get level 5 1-2 punch on stick to the plan. You're just the murder machine.
It's level 3 dynamite, right? It's not even level 2, isn't it?
Oh my god! Is it?
Yeah, it seems great. And the level 0 version of this also seems pretty alright. It's basically a card and 2 money to probably do 3 damage, assuming you can hit stuff.
It's kind of like you can think of it as like a vicious blow where you have to succeed on 2 tests, but you don't use up a bullet on your gun, kind of. I mean, it does cost 2. I think the thing is, like, the level 0 version, very good for Nathaniel, probably not great for other Guardians. Level 5 version, great for everybody.
Yeah. Pretty cool.
Yep. A lot of conversation in chat about the physique of the 2 gentlemen on this card.
I was strategically not reading chat. They're talking about hair a lot and cats.
Ben, when are you and Kim
trying to get constructive feedback on the cards? But,
when are you and Kim going to start a spin-off podcast where you like just talk about the art on the cards or something like that? I don't know. I think that could be a really fun.
Just talking about the art on the cards would be fine. I thought you were going to say talk about cats or something. I was like, no.
I think Kim should get to pick the topics because I think that's what would be most entertaining.
This does not seem like a good idea. Let's move on to the next card.
Wait, one thing before we move on. So Crick Dem added in the chat here, is this 2 tokens on the Harbinger? It is, because it fights twice, right? So you technically put 2 proof tokens on them.
That is true.
All right, we can move on.
All right, next card is Stand Together. So we've seen level 3 Stand Together before, all the way back from Dunwich. Very good card. This is level 0 version. It's a cost 0 event. One willpower icon. Spirit. Choose another investigator at your location. Both you and that investigator gain 2 resources. Seems pretty alright. It's like you get 2 money, someone else gets 2 money.
Yeah.
It's not as good as the upgraded one, which also draws you 2 cards, which is obviously incredible, especially the
I mean, the other one having double willpower is also a pretty big deal, because if you draw it late, often it's like too late for the actually playing it to be relevant, but you can still commit it very powerfully.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's still fine. I feel like this is better than cash in non-solo.
Is
the net resources.
I mean, is it though?
Well, because the issue cash level 3 obviously is super indispensable if you have like Melteroni on Joe, or if you have like all that kind of stuff.
But like cash level 0, like
at least you can this. Like you can't commit cash level 0 to stuff. So
I mean, I guess what I'm mostly worried about is like, suppose, I guess if you're in a 4-player game, it's very likely you're going to have someone. But like, remember, you can't even play this if there's not another investigator at your location, right?
That's true.
So yeah, maybe. I mean, I like what they're going for. I'm glad to see it.
Yeah, I mean, any sort of economy options, be it draw or money, is definitely welcomed, I think. Yeah. So I'm happy to see Stand Together, and I'm sure I'll play it at some point. It's just like a one of, or I'd be fine taking this in a draft, honestly. Like, sure.
Nobody cares about that.
I mean, I still like the art of this card, which definitely has a guy like back to back with like a ghost lady.
Oh yeah,
tentacles.
Yeah. Really good art. I've always assumed that was Mark and his dead wife, but the guy's wearing glasses or goggles or something, so I'm honestly not sure.
That'd be cool if it was Mark and his dead wife. That's an alt art. Someone make an alt art. Is Pat listening? Pat, alt art.
Yeah, alt art. Let's do it. Moving on to the next card, though. Okay, this time I lost track. Is it my turn? I think it is.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good luck.
So we have level 3 taunts. So this is a 1-cost Guardian event. Level 3, 2 willpower icons, 1 combat icon, 1 agility icon. It's a tactic. Fast, played during any lightning bolt window. Engage any number of enemies at your location. For each enemy engaged this way, deal it 1 damage and draw 1 card. So all the previous versions, we had a level 0 and level 2 version. They're all fast. So the difference with this one is that it's not only fast, but you can play it during any window. The other ones you can only play during. And we're back. Sorry about that. My computer blue screened for some reason. I thought it was really, when that's happened in the past, it's been because of, well, it's always been while we were playing on Tabletop Simulator, so I always assumed it was something to do with like the graphics card, but now it's just happening for no reason at all. So we'll more on this.
Screen, it wasn't a new color because previously it's been a different color every time.
I think it was gray. I think it was a shade of gray that we've had in the past. So nothing new on that front. But anyway, we are back now.
I do not see the stream up yet.
Really? I think I do.
I refresh.
I do. Yeah, I do.
Okay, I just had to refresh.
Yeah. All right, so we're back, and I think where we were at was we were talking about taunt. Yeah, let's try to blast through these last few cards because we got to move on to the Survivor ones.
I don't know. Did you Did he crash after we read it? I don't know where we were at.
So it's a level 3 1 cost event, 2 will icons, 1 combat, 1 agility. It's a tactic, fast play during any lightning bolt window, engage any number of enemies at your location. For each enemy engaged this way, deal it a damage or draw 1 card. Here's the differences from the previous versions. You can play it during any instant window, not just during your turn. The level 2 version was you get to draw a card for each enemy engaged. This one is you draw a card for each enemy engaged and you deal 1 damage to those enemies. So that's pretty cool. I think what situations do we play this card in?
Exactly, Dreamlands.
Basically, yeah.
Dreamlands.
Because you can just nuke a whole swarm and draw like 4
Oh my
cards,
god!
right?
Oh, it's so good.
Or-
and then Zoe just get a billion money.
Zoe likes it like in any enemy heavy scenario, which is usually later scenarios. It's also great. Gets a lot of damage. Flamethrower situations, if you're running a flamethrower build, seems good.
But I think especially because they need to be engaged with you to use flamethrower. But especially I think in Dream Eaters on high player counts, because most swarms scale with the number of players. Like if you're in 2-player or solo Dreamlands, maybe you don't care, Yeah,
that's fair.
No,
I like it.
And it does. Cool. And it does. The second will icon means it commits pretty well too, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and it's tactics. So it can go and stick to the plan.
That is also true.
Yeah,
you can have it out ready for just the right moment.
It's a good card for Lola when she wants to pull the enemies onto her and then suicide herself on turn 1.
Dumb. Go to jail, Ben. We have too many cards. We have too many cards to talk about for this kind of nonsense.
All right, skill cards.
Next card, skill card. Overpower. Remember me from the core set? I'm back.
I thought this was a neutral card. What happened?
Now it's blue, like Eiffel 69 or whatever that band was. Overpower, level 2. It has 3 combat icons on it, and the new text is: so if the test is successful, draw 1 card, 2 cards instead if it succeeds by 2 or more. Yeah.
Right.
It draws more cards.
It's not bad.
I think this is the primary reason to not get into Glory, right? Because you just get two cards. It's great.
This
it's actually kind of exciting, but I think it's like
this is very relevant with one particular tactic that Mark can play, called Practice is Perfect.
65.
Or Practice Makes Perfect.
Yeah.
So I want to try playing a Mark deck that like cycles not quite as many cards as the stupid broken Mandy decks, but like you can have two of these, 2 of this, and 2 Darings, and you can have 2 Practice Makes Perfect. It could get kind of nuts, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, even in Joe already like playing Practice Makes Perfect with perceptions, deductions, vicious blows, and overpowers. Now he can just get even more.
That's true, and he can play other ridiculous stuff like Cryptic Research too. So
yeah, sure, yeah.
It seems good. There's going to be like specific decks that want to play this either because they really need the draw and they have whatever, or because they need 3 symbols. But it's pretty cool.
So this card directly speaks against that rule that Ben said, where for the most part, like investigators who are on the cards typically are like the classes that they are. I remember this being a source of outrage in the community, specifically because Silas cannot play this card.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm very confident we're going to get Peril Silas, whose only ability is also put Overpower in his deck. Not Guardians of he's allowed Overpower.
I mean, Overpower is nice, but honestly, what I really want for Silas is Vicious Blow. That's like the other really important one.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, let's move on to.
There's Vicious Blow.
Yeah, Vicious Blow is reprinted. That's cool. I wonder if some of these reprints may somewhat decrease the need for people to buy like 2nd or 3rd or whatever core sets. So that's kind of nice.
Yeah. No, that's not right. You actually need to buy a core set now every time they release a return to, so you can have the cards separately inside the box.
You're a weird guy, Ben. All right, let's move on and talk about the Survivor cards.
Hooray!
Yeah. All right, so I'll start it off, I guess. So Survivor assets. We have the 18 Derringer. It is level 0, cost 3 asset with 1 combat icon. Item, weapon, firearm, illicit. Uses 2 ammo. Action, spend 1 ammo. Fight, you get +2 combat and deal +1 damage with this attack. If you fail, place 1 ammo on 18 Derringer. And there's an upgraded version that is level 2 that costs 2 to play, has a agility arcana on it as well, has 3 uses, or excuse me, 3 ammo, and the ability is if you fail, place 1 ammo on the Derringer, and the next time you trigger this ability this round, you get an additional +1 combat for that attack.
And they both take up hand slots.
They do. And I like.
But it's too illegal for Preston to play it.
I was just about to say, it's too illegal for him, man. He can't take it. Cold Vest Basket, forget it. 18 Derringer, forget it.
Listen, Preston would never actually fail a test, right? Because he just dumps all his money into every test. So
I have played Arkham Horror the card game with people that were playing Preston decks, and I can verify that they actually fail tests quite a bit.
Yeah, no, this seems pretty alright.
This is ridiculously good for such a tiny, funny-looking gun.
Right?
Yeah.
I was so impressed. Like this even carries its weight in like expert, right? Because you're gonna fail in expert. Every single time you do not have to worry about ammo like running out. It's so great.
It combos great with the fail package. It combos great with like even live and learn. You like shoot this, miss, get the ammo back, play live and learn.
Live and learn is still terrible, but I other than that I agree with you.
It's pretty good with the fail package.
It also fits into the Tiny Guns Wendy deck that we've joked about recently.
Yeah.
But it's still bad for Wendy though, because they only put it at like a 3 combat.
Well, that's why you got to have Jessica and Dark Horse and every other card in the game that gives you a combat bonus that she can play. But no, this is the level 2 version is like getting that extra ammo just makes it like solid, even if you're not able to take advantage of the failing part of it. I think in Stella with what's the permanent that like her first action she gets a penalty and then after that it gets better.
I mean, that's the card we'll talk about. But Stella's ability is when she fails a test, she gets an action.
That's great. Yeah,
so,
that's
like she can hard fail package and then not lose any momentum from it.
This is going to be ridiculous in Stella, and I think it'll find its way into a lot of other random Survivor decks too.
Oh, yeah. Even Yorick.
Like Yorick, Silas, or
like fail package Yorick, and you can keep recurring this when it runs out of bullets. You know, that's pretty great.
Yeah, I find it hilarious that like Act of Desperation makes this gun hit harder, even though it's like maybe the size of like
this is funny. I think most
do a really targeted throw.
If you have any type of combat abilities at all, you could probably hurt someone more by punching them than by hitting them with this gun.
Then throwing it at their face.
But yeah, well, and that's true. The upgrade, I mean, it's great that the cost goes down when you upgrade to the level 2 version, but it does make the Act of Desperation give you less money. So, really solid card.
Yeah, Survivors we're lacking in like solid in-class cards. I think. Options.
Yeah.
So this is nice.
They really were. Yeah, this is going to be pretty great.
Speaking of pretty great cards.
Oh, the chainsaw, the other Survivor weapon.
Oh man.
So this is a cost 4 level 4 Survivor asset with 3 combat icons on it. It's an item, a tool, weapon, and melee. Uses 3 supplies. Action, spend 1 supply. Fight, you get +2 combat and deal +2 damage for this attack. If this attack fails, either place 1 supply on chainsaw or deal 1 damage to the attacked enemy. It's kind of like the big brother or sister of the Derringer a little bit, right?
Yeah. I mean, this seems incredibly great. So this is technically our first officially released level 4 Survivor card. Right?
Hooray, Survivor! And what a card, right?
Yeah. Seems really good.
This is the asset card.
Which means you can refill it with cash 3.
Oh my god.
What other cards?
It's literally Melteroni. It's literally
instead of taking up 0 hand slots, it takes up 2 hand slots.
That's the thing. Yeah, like they finally realized that Survivor needs a a comparison to like really big good Guardian cards, and like obviously just like Strange Solution, Acidic Ichor. But like this is Strange Solution, Acidic Ichor. If it didn't have the hand slots, costed 1. And a lot of other kids.
So if it was like a Survivor card instead of a Seeker card, it would look like this, right?
Yeah, it's not a Seeker card.
But hey, if Joe has his hunch guns out and you teamwork this to him, he can use both of them at the same time.
Yeah,
cool.
I mean, what is nice about this is even if you miss, you can do a little bit of damage if for some reason you want to. So like if you're fighting like a 4 health enemy or something, you only care about hitting once out of your 2 attacks or something. That can be pretty alright. Combos with the fail package if you're like expecting to fail. Everything. I think all the cards combo with the fail package and stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
I guess I don't need to mention that every time.
I mean, yeah. My like baseline take is that 2-handed weapons are usually really bad, like, or at least a lot worse than they look. But this one, because you can reload it with Cash 3, that makes a huge difference. Like we've seen how broken that is with Melterani. And that plus the fact that it like combos really well with Stella's whole thing means that it is absolutely worth playing in Stella, and it might even be good in other decks. So
yeah, like Yorick.
The art's pretty great. This lady's holding the chainsaw, and there's like a shadow of some type of tentacle monster.
Is that any existing Survivor Investigator, or is it just some random person?
I think that's just a lady. I don't know.
Looks like
she looks like she's kind of wearing Jenny's outfit, but it's definitely not Jenny.
She looks like she's about to cut a scary monster in half with a chainsaw. So good for her.
Yeah. I mean, so Lady brings up a good point here. Why is a tiny gun and a huge chainsaw in a deck with just from a mail carrier? We don't know the answers to this.
Those are standard mail carrier.
Yeah, those are pretty normal. I mean, ask your postal carrier next time they deliver, a bunch of useless ads and maybe also some cool stuff that you ordered online, and they'll be like, "Oh yeah, by the way, I have this chainsaw. That's just standard issue." So
yeah, you gotta protect yourself and the mail. So
let's move on though.
So next card is Cherished Keepsake. Welcome back. Cherished Keepsake level 0. Card came out in Carcosa or something, right? Now we have level 1. Still commits just for 1. Will icon. And now it has an ability here. Forced, when Cherished Keepsake is defeated by Horror, exile it. But it does take now 4 sanity for you. And still takes up the accessory slot. So a lot more soak. A lot more bang for your buck here. And if you can manage to, like, obviously you have the best Horror soak in the game, Peter Sylvester. So you can just, like, you can have this fill up to 3 and like maybe trash it somehow if you've got Joey the Rat or something. I don't know. You can do a lot of it.
If you're playing this, you're not playing Peter,
or vice versa. Yeah.
Like I don't think you need both. What's nice about this is you can exile it if it takes 4, but if it's defeated any other way, such as playing over it or Crypt Chill or whatever,
yeah, that's true.
Maybe you put 3 horror on it and it just gets trashed, and then it's great, and then you play another one or something. So it seems pretty okay. It seems like it would be basically all the horror soak you need, and maybe occasionally you have to pay extra XP for it.
I think the bigger problem with it is that, as mentioned, Survivors also have Peter that is a better way to soak horror, and they also have things like Rabbit's Foot that are like better ways to use the accessory slot. So Cherished Keepsake mostly sees play in Yorick, who wants it to be defeated so he can replay it, and Tommy, who wants it to be defeated so that he can like get money out of it, right? And this new version does not work as well for those use cases, but there's like probably specific cases where this could be pretty good, especially if like someone else is using Peter or something and you still need to soak.
Yeah. I mean, if you're not doing hard fail package, then maybe you could do it over Rabbit's Foot, but I think Rabbit's Foot's also included in this pack, so it's a little weird there.
Speaking of other cards in this pack, let's move on.
So we got Deja Vu. This is a level 5 asset with no cost because it's a permanent. It's a talent and cursed. In between 2 scenarios of a campaign, reduce the experience cost to repurchase up to 3 cards that you exiled during the last scenario by 1. It says, have you seen this before? The answer is yes, because this is a remake of the art on Stray Cat. This is interesting. If you're doing like an exile heavy deck and you've picked this up, then maybe you'll be less worried about... did Dan crash again?
No, I did not.
Oh, your video had cut out. So I was like, oh no. So sorry. So yeah, if you're doing like an exile heavy build, then this can kind of help take away some of the pain from having to rebuy those exile cards. But it is a heavy investment of 5 experience, so it's like
it is.
You have to buy it early and be really using those exile cards like every scenario or really.
You have to really heavily. You have to be using up a lot of exile cards. Like you have to be getting Guiding Spirits killed. You have to be playing Test of Wills. You have to maybe be using like flares and stuff. You can't like take this and then use the bonus that same upgrade opportunity, right? Like if I
between
used up,
Adaptable works, right?
like if I used up 2 test of wills and a guiding spirit, and then after that scenario I buy this, can I then immediately use it to rebuy those?
If it works like adaptable, then I would think so. But I'm not sure.
It's like adaptable says in between each game of a campaign. It's like the same thing. Game and scenario are the same thing. So yeah, I think you could buy it and then immediately apply its effect.
I mean that helps a lot, because then if you're getting full use out of it the first time you get it, you're kind of only paying 2 for it. But it's still, if you're not in a full campaign, never get this. And if you don't have like a lot of exile cards, don't get this. But it could be cool in the right situation.
Yeah, I obviously like the theme of the card of them like, oh, it's the stray cat that you like threw at an enemy to evade it, way back when. Now it's back.
He's here. Welcome.
That is kind of cool. Yeah, I do wish that Stray Cat. I wish there was an exile version of Stray Cat to make it actually work, though. But
fire, someone in chat mentioned fire extinguisher. I don't remember what that does, but maybe it does exile itself. I think so. Maybe it's about works nicely with this.
It's like a tiny combat, and then you can use it to evade everything. I think once.
And flare is like a pretty strong combat, or you can use it to get an ally out of your deck or someone else's deck
for free. I think.
Yeah.
So. Time to move on to the next card?
Yeah.
Let's do it. So we have Granny Orin. So we have 2 versions of this, level 0 and level 3. Level 0, asset, cost 4. It is it has a willpower icon. It's an ally. It says you get +1 willpower. Reaction when an investigator at your location would fail a skill test, exhaust Granny Orin. That investigator fails by either 1 less or 1 more. And then it has 1 health and 3 horror, or 1 health and 3 sanity, and it takes up the ally slot. The level 3 version gains an additional intellect icon. It also gives you both +1 will and +1 intellect, so compared to the original one, only gave you willpower. And when you fail a skill test and exhaust Granny Orin, instead of just you failing by 1 less or 1 more, you get +1 or -1 skill value for the test. So the upgraded version you actually could use to potentially pass if you just barely failed.
Kraken just mentioned that in the chat too. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
it's kind of like a lucky you can use every turn as a +1.
That's kind of interesting. I have a question about this card. So suppose that someone has suppose you failed by -1, or suppose you failed by 1 and you use Granny Orin to fail by 1 less. You can fail by 0, right?
Yep.
And it would be kind of like failing with the 13th Vision out, the card that Ben designed.
Yeah.
Now, suppose you have the 13th Vision out, and you fail, and you fail by 0 already, and you exhaust Granny Orin to fail by 1 less. So you can now fail by -1. Is that possible? Well, no. Previously.
Yes, you would fail by -1, but then I think you're not actually allowed to have negative numbers, I think. So it would still fail.
Okay, well, that was what I was about to ask, is can you then use that with the upgraded Rabbit's Foot to draw -1 to search your deck for -1 cards? But
no, I don't think that quite works.
It's too bad. So, I was excited to draw nega cards out of my nega deck.
Weird aside. Yeah, the level 0 one's like, okay. I mean, +1 willpower is nice, as well as the sanity soak.
Patrice, maybe? Like fail package Patrice?
Yeah. Sure. You have to use it with it's only the fail package that you benefit from it. It helps you like slip in, get like liquid eye founds or oopses or whatever the evade one's called. It's like if you fail by 3, you can I failed by 2 now, so now I can play this card.
Yeah.
It's also nice it's also nice with all the encounter cards that are like take 1 damage for each point you fail by. Yeah. Like some campaigns have a lot of those.
Yeah.
It's there. But it doesn't help you pass tests, the level 0 one.
That is true.
Which, in the solo deck, it's like, all right, that's fine.
Well, I mean, the willpower does help you pass tests a lot,
Yeah, that's true. The willpower is definitely not insignificant. I just meant the reaction ability doesn't help as much. I also don't know when you'd want to fail by test by 1 more.
I was just about to say that. Upgraded Rabbit's Foot.
Rabbit's Foot, yeah.
Lets you search 1 more card.
There's also like eventually, and I honestly don't know if we're going to talk, if there's like already in the pack and we're going to talk about it in 10 minutes, but if there isn't already, there eventually will be an event that's like fast, play when you fail a skill test, gain a resource for each point you failed by or something, like that'll...
Yeah, something like that would work.
There will be cards like that eventually.
And you can use it on other people too, which is nice. So like,
Yeah.
if they draw a treachery, it would fail and it would kill them, or they don't want to take damage, you can fail by less.
I gotta say, I kind of really like this. Like, I'm not immediately sure what deck I'd put it in, but where you want an ally to be is like 4-ish money is a lot, but you get a static boost to a good stat that most people want, and you get a relevant ability that like is interesting and probably can be used to do some nice things, and it soaks some horror for you. So like, that's, even the level 0 one's pretty good. And then if you do need both willpower and intellect, then the level 3 version is like a no-brainer. You definitely want it.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm interested in the lore of this character because Granny Orn, there's the Orn Library at Mistonic University.
Oh.
And I thought one of the Necronomicons was also the Orn translation, but I think I'm wrong.
Oh, that's the Wormius.
Oh, yeah.
Something or other. Yeah.
But,
no, I like this because, I mean, also it just works at any investigator location. So at any time you've got like 4, like you're probably going to get like some sort of like grasping hands or something like that. Somebody's going to get it, and you can just make their day a little bit better without this, or without feeling by like a lot. And then the intellect markedly is like great. We don't have a lot of options for that in Survivor. No, the only one I think right now is the guiding speed, like Sugadem mentioned earlier.
It's a little hard for survivors to get their intellect up to like pass tests normally, because most of them I think get pretty low intellect as baseline.
I think for Wendy, if kind of like a willpower based Wendy fail package deck, which is not the craziest thing I've ever heard of, like that, you know, it's relevant because she starts with 3 and she wants to play like winging it, which kind of gives you +1, which is like she wants to recur winging it a lot. Often you're like, oh, if only I had like 1 more intellect, I could pass this winging it, you know.
Yeah,
So,
and then on top of that, like, so it gives you the static boosts. I'm talking about level 3 now. It gives you the attack boost, but also technically it just kind of gives you like a ghost +1 kind of across the line, because her ability could potentially make you have that additional +1.
that's totally true. Yeah.
You said it's like a weak lucky that you can use on other people to give them +1.
And it also, like, there are a lot of times where you're like desperately trying to use Look What I Found, which is a pretty good card, and you're like, oh man, I really need to you can like always pretty much use Look What I Found, right? Or at least it helps a lot. So that's pretty cool. So and I have to say, so least favorite thing about this card, the Lola people get another card for them to be excited about. Hate the Lola people, never want them to be happy about anything. No, that's not true. I love the Lola people, but because it gives you 2 passive stats and it happens to be level 3, the Lola decks are going to go nuts for this.
Sugadem brings up a huge point here. For Ben, who was playing You Catastrophe or Betrayal at the Mountains of Madness campaign, and he failed by 2 many times on things that he needed to fail by exactly not to. This is the card.
That is
You're
true.
right. This is the god card for you Catastrophe.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I'm excited. I'm way more excited with this card now.
The
Catastrophe.
last thing I want to say about this is I look forward to at some point the math engine of this game being upgraded to support negative numbers, and at that point being able to draw negative cards from my discard pile as someone suggested in the chat. So that'll be exciting.
Oh boy! Did we mention the art on this card? It's great.
She's a tough old bird.
Next card.
Next card is Grimm's Fairy Tales. So this is a 2-cost asset, level 0, has a will icon on it, and it is an item and a tome. Uses 4 secrets. Triggered after an investigator location fails a skill test by 2 or more, exhaust Grimm's Fairy Tales and spend 1 secret to heal 1 horror from that investigator. It takes up a hand slot. So my initial impression of this card was that it just was terrible. Mostly because it took up a hand slot.
Sounds right.
Because like there are so many better things you could put in your hands.
For instance, like a hot dog. You could have like a hot dog in one hand and like a Sprite in the other, and then you'd be using up both of your hand slots to eat a hot dog and drink a Sprite. That'd be pretty great.
But with this though, like, it's kind of an interesting support card in that, okay, so Carolyn could take it, right? But like in a 2-player scenario, I've only had experience with this just once, and I was like, please don't put this card in your deck, don't put this card in your deck. And the person I was playing with put this card in their deck. And it was actually, like, it kind of helped in like a in a subvert sort of way. It's just kind of like every time I would fail, like, oh, well, that's nice because I have like trauma from my arcane researches or whatever, or just because I'm like tumbling through the hell that is the Forgotten Age, and like it would help in that capacity. But like I still think that there are just so many better things you can put in your hands. There's going to be another one that we're going to be talking about soon, but there's the Derringers. There's a lot of different things.
Yeah, like again, fail package. I mean, it's another way to benefit from failing, and 2 or more. So with Granny Orn, you want to fail by more.
I wish it didn't have that extra restriction on it though, because it feels like this is already hard enough to use.
Yeah,
I do. I mean, I think the theme of it is great because I think it's clearly supposed to be like, Wendy, you just failed a test and you're feeling down. Well, why don't you read about Pinocchio, who when he was sad, this happened and he turned into a real boy. And now I feel better. I healed a horror. That's
all the Grimm's fairy tales are all like really dark and disturbing though.
Yeah. So it's more like, you think you're in bad shape. Well, what about the Little Mermaid that like was killed or murdered or something? Like that's Hans Christian Andersen. But you get the idea. But it's. No, I don't know. I mean, it looked pretty bad to me at first. I think that there's easier ways to like deal with horror than this. There's like, that don't cost 2 resources and take up a hand slot. But the fact that it is like testless, like maybe there's some cases where it would be kind of fun.
Yeah, I guess someone mentioned in chat, Peril Daisy could take it if you're playing.
That's right.
But I'm not
probably expert.
Yeah,
you're going to be failing a lot.
Yeah, by a lot. That is true.
You're trying as hard as possible to never do tests. So
Harrison reminds us in the chat of the spoilers for the ending of Little Mermaid. Don't look at the chat unless you want the Little Mermaid, the real version, not the Disney version, spoiled for you. But it's dark, man. Anything else to say about Grimm's fairy tales?
No, let's move on to Leather Coat. So we have a.
Good.
What?
Good.
We have a level 1 Leather Coat. We've seen the original level 0 in the core set. This is very similar to Cheros Keepsake. It is cost 0, level 1, has combat icon, item, armor, forced when Leather Coat is defeated by damage, exile it, has 4 health, takes up the body slot.
So exactly like the new Cherished Keepsake, but for damage instead, right?
Yeah, but it takes up the body slot instead of the next slot, so make it more likely to include this in a deck to soak damage.
I think that's kind of true. I could honestly see throwing this in some like Agnes decks in certain campaigns if I like had a trauma somehow or something,
Yeah.
Namely the Forgotten Age.
Yeah.
See, just because it takes up that slot instead of the next slot, I think it's better.
Yeah. And because there isn't like Peter competing with it to heal horror. Like you could get Jess instead, but Jess is more limited where like if you're not using combat, you don't really need her.
This is also 0 resources. Like this is super accessible.
It has other downsides where you can't like combo it with like Tommy as easily or York to like recur it as easily.
Sure.
Yeah.
But
I think at the very least for like Min, there's some people that can use level 1 survivor cards that have like 5 health on their card, and this is like legitimate protection for them. So
I mean, doing just kind of like an experience analysis, this versus the other one from the core set, body armor. What is it called?
Bulletproof vests.
Bulletproof vest, and then you've got also regarding the Cherished Keepsake here. You're looking at 3 experience for basically what this is, right? But this is like, so technically, if you are using that if you exiled this twice, you would basically be getting that in your deck, except you don't have to pay any money for it.
Right.
So it's even better in that regard, even if you exile it twice.
And you're not paying the XP up front, which is better. And just keep in mind that like with, the original exile cards like Test of Will could be good, but it was like if you're using them, you're definitely paying the XP again. These new ones, they're like Guiding Spirit, where it's like even if you play it and you use it most of the way, you probably aren't going to need to use every last bit of health on it, so you're probably not going to have to exile it. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you combo with Deja Vu, if you're using a bunch of these exile cards, then it's like, oh, whatever. I'll just buy it again for free.
Right.
Exactly. Let's move on. So we have Mysterious Raven, level 0, 1 cost asset, 1 intellect symbol as an ally and a creature. Instant, discard Mysterious Raven and take 1 horror, discover 1 clue at your location. It has 1 sanity and takes up the ally slots.
And a Poco.
That's true. So this is interesting. This works with like the decorated skull and stuff if you're trying to get your allies killed, right?
It does.
Isn't Decorated Skull just if it gets defeated, not if it's discarded?
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Does it work
I mean,
with
this
does it work with Tommy?
No.
Oof.
No, it works with Yorick. He's the one that's the most important, I think.
Mysterious Raven taking the L here by not working with any of the survivors that it could potentially work with.
Yeah, this card's like it's a Tesla's Clue, which it's like a one card, one action, one card, one money Tesla's Clue, and one horror. It's a lot actually, but it seems like pretty okay in solo and in higher difficulties. I wish it didn't take up the ally slot. It doesn't really seem deserving of that.
Yeah, I wish it just said like instant place one horror on Mysterious Raven, discover one clue. Like you didn't have to take a horror and also discard it, right?
Yeah.
That just seems like too much.
Yeah, it seems rough.
I mean, I guess
obviously horror soaks in Survivor. That part's not as scary, but the ally slot part that.
Yeah, you'd have to have like Peter and this or whatever.
That's the thing. It's just really hard for me to imagine like wanting this bad enough to give up another ally or take an extra charisma to play it.
Yeah.
Maybe in solo, if it's just like you really want to be able to grab a Tesla's Clue, like solo expert, sure,
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Or like if you're doing like a low money build like Dark Horse or whatever, this is a cheap.
Especially like I think like solo expert William Yorick, you have Eucatastrophe, maybe you can like almost never have to actually pass tests. Like who is it Q-Herdir that does the like all tentacles chaos bag? Like in that kind of a weird bizarro run, then this could be really strong. But I think that's what it would take. Yeah. Time to move on?
Yeah.
Moving on to Old Keyring. So this is a level 0 asset. Costs 1 resource. It has 1 intellect icon. It is an item and it uses 2 keys. If there are no keys on Old Keyring, discard it. And that's huge. Action, investigate. Your location gets -2 shroud for the seed. Remove 1 key from Old Keyring. Takes up a hand slot. So I was super hyped about this card immediately when it was spoiled for a lot of different reasons. Again, upping the Survivor Investigate game with Stella. Obviously, you if you fail, you don't lose any of your keys. When you do, it actually discards itself, which kind of makes it fair grounds for scavenging, because you can technically keep scavenging these back and forth. If you like, you could even just commit one from your hand.
But it means you can't act in desperation to throw a flashlight at somebody's head.
But I mean, like, even with this, like, I'm playing it in with Wendy actually right now in Forgotten Age, using it alongside lockpicks. Really cool. It's really fun and cool to play with scavenging, just because you can just basically bounce it out of your discard from with scavenging for little to nothing, and then immediately replay it. It's pretty great.
I mean, this seems like a great way to get clues off of a 4-shroud location, comboing it with Look What I Found.
Yeah, exactly.
You'll try to Look What I Found, get the clues, and you get the key back on the key rig, so you can use it again.
It does fit into this really weird sweet spot where, yeah, a combo's great. It works really well with the fail package. It works really well with Look What I Found. It works really well with scavenging, which is a card that people really like. And I mean, this is actually a pretty decent reason to play scavenging. So you put all of that together, and it kind of all adds up to like a pretty decent card. And even the baseline of it is like, at worst, it's like a slightly worse flashlight that's cheaper. So, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I would say it's a little bit better than Flashlight. It has less successful uses on it. But
that's what I'm saying. Is like if you're hoping to get 3 clues out of a flashlight like this, the most you can really get is 2. But that's still okay.
It's even good at Yorick because he can just like in solo again. It's profiting here. Make it out like a madman. It just automatically discards itself. So then you just kill an enemy and you just play it immediately.
Yeah.
Someone asked in chat if it's better than newspaper. Yes. So yes.
Probably. I mean, newspaper, I don't know. There's some situations where it might be better, but I think in general this is better, right?
Yeah. Honestly, I play it alongside it.
If you don't have clues, yeah, you can use both.
Level 2 newspaper is 2 intellect icons, so like with scavenging, if paper is using this, and just all day you'll keep getting them back, so
yeah,
be fine.
Yeah. Anything else to say about Old Keyring?
Very happy to see it.
Yeah, seems fun. So next card is Quick Learner. This is a level 4 asset. with no cost because it's permanent. It's a condition, which
is it the first condition we've seen?
Don't recall if there's been other conditions, but
interesting.
Sometimes it is like random traits and stuff we've never seen before.
Thanks, Matt.
It's a permanent. During number 4, your first action of each of your turns, each skill test you perform is +1 difficulty. And then during or after your third action of each of your turns, each skill test you perform gets -1 difficulty. It's a weird card. It's good for Stella because she usually gets like 4 actions. And she wants to fail the first one anyway.
When I see permanent on a card, though, my ears always perk up, and I'm like, okay, usually permanent cards are like build around me cards. This is a thing that you need to pay attention to. And like I feel like if it just did a little bit more, like even if it said like each test you perform gets +2 difficulty and then -2 difficulty at the end, that might be something to consider. Like that's hearing.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
You sure can.
You could buy 2 of them if you wanted to. I believe this only applies during the investigation phase, though, during your turn. It doesn't apply to like Mythos phase or any phase or anything.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see some clarification of that to be totally sure about it, but that's how I would read it as well.
Because it says during or before your first action of each of your turns. So I assumed it was just applied during your turn.
Well,
I agree that if you interpret it, it applies to Mythos phase.
Because unless it mentions the round or something, then like everything is like before, like it would be like, well, this is also before the first action of my next turn and the turn after that and the turn after that, and it would like all stack, right? It would be weird.
Yeah,
So,
I think it just applies during your turn, so I don't think it hits Mythos phase.
yeah.
Could be wrong.
I think like when this is working, like you could build an engine where you have this out, you're always going to expect to fail your first one, and you're going to have rabbit's foot and whatever else, and drawing thin, and then this is just going to make, your later actions are going to get a lot stronger. And if you're Stella, you're basically going to have 4 actions. If you're like Wendy with like Leo or Haste, you're going to have more actions. Like there's other survivors that can play those cards. Then this is really good. There are going to be some times where it really sucks because you're like, well, the way that this turn shook out, I really, really need to evade this guy this first turn or this first action. So it's like, how bad is that going to be versus like the payoff? It's a really interesting thing to think about.
Kraken says, thanks for the clarification. I'd have just that's what you got drawing thin for.
Yeah.
But no, seriously, like
definitely seems good for Stella. I feel like, yeah, as you said, like a lot of the time you can maybe maneuver your turn so you don't have to do an important test in the first action, but sometimes you're forced to because you have an enemy on you. It's basically the scenario.
Yeah,
so it seems powerful. I like the art on it.
I think it's like if both of the following are true, if you're going to take more than 3 actions in a turn and you have a lot of payoffs for failure, then I think it's quite good. If only one of those things is true, then it's like up in the air, but maybe not that good. I don't know. We'll have to figure it out.
I'm eager. There are just some people who will just straight up play these investigator decks out of the box. I think I'm going to honestly do that with Stella just because I want to try these things out in the environment that they were balanced and tested for. Yeah. I just want to see how this is going to like feel.
It does seem like I get the sense that like Stella and Winnie are the 2 that people are like most excited about. Maybe
I'm very excited for Stella and Jacqueline specifically.
I'm playing through Return to Fraternity blind. I'm doing Harvey, and my girlfriend is playing Stella. So I'm excited to see how it pans out. I'm sure it'll be great. I'm sure Return to God Frat Age won't destroy us.
I just played Return to Untamed Wilds today. I like the changes to how Explore works. That's definitely better. Yeah. They should have done it that way from the beginning. I think.
So much better. Yeah.
That's the only one I've played so far. So it does seem like an improvement. But we'll talk about that in a future episode. In like 5 months, we're going through all these cards.
There's a lot of cards. Speaking of cards. So there's a reprint of level 0 Rabbit's Foot. There is not a reprint of level 3 Rabbit's Foot, but of course you could put that in these types of decks. The next actually new card is level 0 Scrapper. So there's a downgrade of the Survivor permanent talent. It is now a level 0 asset, cost 2, has a combat and a agility icon on it. The art is of a guy with kind of a weird looking face if you look at it closely, like his eyes are very close together. It is still a talent, and it still has action, or it still has lightning bolt, spend a resource, you get 1, combat or agility for this skill test. I mean, like, I guess this version of it you can compare directly to, like, Dig Deep, right?
Yeah, it has... Dig Deep is, like, will and agility. This one is combat.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this having combat is, like, pretty important for, like, Preston, I think. Because Preston doesn't have a way to dump his money into fighting stuff without upgrades, I think.
That's a good point.
This is literally Hard Knocks, and he can just play Hard Knocks.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
What is he missing then? I thought he was missing one.
He's missing int.
No.
Unless you get... Oh, no, now he's not, because of a card that we'll talk in the Rogue app. But, yeah.
Maybe not. Well, I don't know then.
If you want 4 copies of Hard Knocks in your deck...
These level 0 talents we generally think are not super great because you have to spend an action and a card and 2 resources just to get them on the field, and then they do nothing unless you're willing to sink even more money into them. So they tend to not be good unless you have a ton of money, which, you know, maybe if you're Preston, maybe you do, but Preston already has access to the whatever it's called, as we just talked about. So I'm not really sure if any decks are going to play this, but it's available if you want it.
Yeah, in Dark Horse decks that are not Preston, I guess, maybe you want a way to dump combat without Fire Axe or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's probably why they balanced it to 2. Honestly, there's another one that came the original cycle with Scrapper and higher education and stuff like that we're going to talk about in the Rogue deck that's actually really good. But that's because it comes out and it's 0 money to play. If this were 0, I'd actually consider it as like a viable assistance to Dark Horse decks and things.
I'm not entirely sure what card Dane is talking about, but I guess we will run into that in a future episode. So, time to move on.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the events.
So we're looking at the first.
Good.
Didn't Matt say it was the first quote card that they put out? Look what I found.
Oh yeah.
So this is an upgrade to that. So this is a level 2 version of Look What I Found. Still costs 2 to play. It, in addition, has an agility icon in addition to the 2 intellect icons. Fast play when you would fail a skill test by 3 or less while investigating, and discover 2 clues from among your location and connecting location. Really great.
Yeah,
really great. Really great.
Look What I Found is already really powerful. It builds on the fail package. Making it 3 or less means like Shroud 3 locations. Suddenly it's like, oh great, I can easily play Look What I Found.
Yeah.
This pack includes the regular Look What I Found too, which is great to have more of those in general.
Yeah, and I mean with Flashlight, Old Keyring, and now 5, and you can get it down to 3, and then fail away.
Yeah, I don't know why this has an agility icon on it. It doesn't really benefit it at all.
Yeah, well, I think it's a reminder that like maybe if you had more agility icons, you wouldn't have crashed your 1920s car into this whatever it is. But
you crashed into the tree and you found a Cthulhu statue or something.
Well, there you go. So we were talking about Look What I Found. It's great. I don't know. I was gonna say watch out for it in like Circle Undone and stuff when there's like penalties for failure. Then it can be worse, but generally good card. Anything else to say, or are we all good?
I was going to say, Peril Skids, I'm excited to try it out in because it's a fortune card and you can have both the regular and the version in this deck.
That's pretty good.
Everything's coming up, Skids.
Yep. I'm excited to try out Peril Skids. I haven't had a chance yet, but
me too.
It's very fun.
On to the next card.
I see your camera has not yet loaded, Dan. You're just too switchy.
Let's keep talking about it, so I have something else I have to edit out of the podcast. All right. So we have a Test of Will. So there is now a level 2 version of Test of Will. Unlike so it is a Survivor event, level 2, cost 0, 1 willpower icon. It's Spirit. Fast. Play when Investigator your location draws a non-weakness treachery card. Cancel that card's revelation effect, then test Will 3. If you fail, exile a Test of Will. So the difference is it costs 0 instead of 1, and you now only have to exile it if you fail a level 3. If you fail a difficulty 3 will test. There's also the level 0 version is also new in this pack, right? So there's also a level 0 version where the difference is that now I'm very confused.
Well, I was ready to slide, Dan, but you jumped in, so it's fine.
Well, my computer disconnected when I lost track.
So because it's level 0, it can't exile itself. So instead, it's a test will 3. If you succeed, cancel that card's revelation effect. So you just always have to do the will test to cancel it.
Nice. So it's kind of like the level 1 version is like you don't even have to do the test. You just exile it automatically. And the level 2 version is like it's cheaper and you kind of get a chance to not exile it.
Yeah.
So that's cool. This was already a good card. I think both of these versions are also pretty okay, depending on. I mean, I guess it depends how good your will is, but like for Wendy with the Moonstones and stuff. Yeah. Patrice.
Yeah, and they, Peter and Orn, a lot of stuff boosts their willpower. So
Yeah. Honestly, that test of will, like the level 2 one, is like pretty cool. I mean, also they have test of willception in it, right? So for the card a test of will, you're actually testing your will, and I think that's great. Good job.
That is.
They got there.
Yeah, it feels like
odds are 100% or 150% that the reason there's a will test on this card now is because Matt wanted that.
I like to think that was the reason, because that is very fun and cool. So
yeah, no, but I mean, like half the reason when you're playing a Dark Horse deck, like you don't play this card, or Lucky for that matter, because they cost 1 money, and you're like, do I save that so that I can get the potential +2 bonus from it, or do I save that so that I can cancel a bad treachery card? Now you can just do that. As long as you can pass a will test, you can just play a test of will in your Dark Horse deck.
Yeah,
that is true.
Yeah, all versions are good. So you want to the next thing?
Okay. We have. So should I read this one? Because I don't know. I'm just gonna.
Dane, you're up.
All right, Dane, go for it.
This card's called Dumb Luck. It was originally in Carcosa or something. Fast play after you fail a skill test by 2 or less during an evasion attempt against an non-elite enemy. Place that on the top of the deck. So a couple changes here with the level 2 version, which is new. Has a will icon on it now. Play it after you fail a skill test by 3 or less, and place that enemy on the bottom of the encounter deck. So, buy enemy forever, basically, until the encounter deck inevitably gets shuffled, and you'll probably get him in 2 turns anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely powerful in lower player counts and in scenarios where you won't shuffle the encounter deck, because you could probably just get rid of that enemy.
It's also definitely powerful against like the thing that follows, because it places it on bottom of the encounter, which is kind of funny.
Well, it doesn't actually do that. It will. Yeah, no, it would go on the bottom of your player deck, actually, which is kind of fun. If something would enter a zone that's not appropriate for it, it goes in the appropriate zone instead.
I definitely completely forgot that the original
or you can't play on the thing that follows. It's one of those 2 options, Dane. So you pick which one you don't like better.
I definitely did completely forget that the level 0 version even existed.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, maybe in some particular solo decks where you're just trying to like get a really annoying enemy out of the way without having to actually really deal with it,
Yeah, Captain Fernis has a really good point, because bottom of the encounter deck is basically fine unless the encounter deck just gets shuffled like the next turn, which happens a lot.
Yeah, there's definitely a good amount of scenarios that happens.
I mean, especially if you're playing at higher player counts, I think that it's far more of a possibility, but it scales, right? So in like solo or duo, then you can just probably count this as you'll never see that enemy again.
Yeah, I mean, also, even if you know you're going to see it again, it gives you knowledge of like when it's going to show up. It's like, oh, the last card is going to be this, so that can help too.
Yeah,
like, even the regular 0 version, like what's kind of okay about it is like, all right, well, I made it. I know that's what I'm going to draw next turn. Instead of Ancient Evils. So okay. Or like if you're not the first player and your Guardian is or whatever, you evade it, and then next turn the Guardian gets to draw it and murder it or whatever. So
yeah,
I think these are pretty situational, but I don't know. Maybe I think if you're really trying to just like fail everything, which maybe you are,
Yeah, they're hard fail package cards. So, but otherwise they're all right. I don't know.
Let's move on.
I'm not going to put it on much decks. So next card is Grit Your Teeth, which I think is the only card that features Stella on it. Other than her signature cards. It's a level 0 event, cost 1 with 1 wild icon. It is Spirit, fast, play after you fail a skill test. You get +1 to each of your skills for the remainder of the round. Purely a fail package card.
Even then, getting +1 to multiple tests is not a thing that I'm willing to put a card in my deck for.
Yeah, it's similar to that like Guardian card. Well,
Intrepid.
Intrepid? Yeah, it's similar to that because you're trying to think of use cases. This at least will happen in Stella. And I saw it in action when we were playing in TFA. It was pretty good. It's like a mini Dark Horse effect, but ultimately I think that it kind of falls short if you're looking at it for the purposes of a 30-card deck. You know, like there are a lot of things to play over it.
The art is cool. I like the building that's behind her. I wish this cost 0. Probably still wouldn't play it, but it's just doesn't really.
It's awkward because you can't see her full mailbag, so you can't see the chainsaw sticking out of it. Which is
that's true. And I mean, it is like I think you're kind of meant to maybe play this in Mythos phase after you fail a treachery, but
that's true. Yeah, you could fail a treachery and then have it for 4 actions on Stella or whatever.
Just still seems like not enough to really be worthwhile.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe it's not that it's not a good effect. I think it's just that would you play this over like something else in a deck slot? Like, would you have this take a deck slot versus something else?
That's the thing is like whatever you're trying to do with this, there's probably another card that will do it more effectively.
Yeah.
Let's move on. So we have a reprint of Live and Learn. Bad card, don't play it. Well,
actually, I wanted to mention something about Live and Learn. Live and Learn is like getting a stem to show. This card is like, if you play it in anywhere, you played it in Stella because of the fact that you get the action when you fail, and then also you get like the ammo or key back, and then you also additionally get to do whatever you just tried to do again.
Yeah, so. I like this. Yeah, as I mentioned with the gun, like you can play it off the gun, get the ammo back, and then get a free shot without using up the ammo. I think it works well in this deck with these other cards, but
I just think
it's not good in all decks.
I just think it's too limited to be worth a card because the thing is, a lot of other cards that do similar things also, this is Calvin talk. A lot of other cards that do similar things also help you in Mythos phase, like Lucky, for instance. And this, like, you never want to do it on any type of test where it's like a penalty if you fail. You know?
Yeah. Yep, exactly.
So I don't know. I mean, it might be fun to play like one in Stella. Maybe you can make it worthwhile. I mean, I'll reserve judgment, I guess, because we haven't really gotten to play with Stella yet very much. So.
Yeah, I mean, I saw Kim used it once or twice when we were playing Forgotten Age, and it worked out nicely. Yeah. For Stella, it gives that extra action as well as maybe you pass the test now. Yeah. It's kind of right.
Might be worth a try. But that's a reprint anyway, right?
Yeah, it's a reprint.
And wow, I mean, this is cool, right?
Everything we wanted for Dark Horse, right? Here it is.
We have is it my turn? No, since my computer started disconnecting, I can't keep track of it anymore.
Go ahead.
Yeah, we have a level 3 version of Lucky. So this is cost 0 event, level 3, no symbols. It's fortune, fast, play when an investigator at your location, ding ding ding, would fail a skill test. They get +3 to their skill value for that test. This investigator draws a card. So it's like level 2 Lucky, but it costs 1 less. You can play it on anybody at your location, and it gets you +3 instead of +2. Wow. This
card is incredible.
Great card.
This card's really good.
I'm really mad that you have to be a survivor to play it. Like Agnes can't play it. That's a bummer.
Peril Skids can play this along with all the versions of Lucky in his deck.
You can play 6 Luckies.
So
and they don't count towards his deck size, right?
Yeah, the basic ones do, I think. So he only has like a 25 base deck. I'm ready for the Skids, Peril Skids Revolution on one board. This card's great though for all survivors. Everyone should. It
gets rid of the only 2 downsides of Lucky, which are that it costs money and you can only play it on yourself. Amazing. Yeah. And it also, as a bonus that was completely unnecessary, it gives you +3 instead of +2. And that's great. That's wonderful.
Seems really good in all situations. Even in solo, maybe you want to pick it up.
We made excellent use of this in the Streamlands run with my Wendy deck that I was playing with Ben. It was pretty great.
Very great card.
Yeah.
Times there are just so many encounter cards that are printed as like will test 3 or agility test 3.
Yeah.
The horrible bodies that you see at the end of the hall, I forget what the hell the name of the card is, but yeah, like those are like just base 3. If you have this in your hand, you just don't have to fear failing. Like even if you not if you auto fail, but like if you would just pull like a -5 or whatever because you're playing the Forgotten Age because you're an insane masochist, like you just get to like play this and be fine. You know, it's pretty great. It's pretty fantastic.
Let's
great card.
Yep.
Let's move on to. I think this is a misprint. So they accidentally reprinted Oops. It's a level 0 card that when you fail.
It's a huge slap in the face to our podcast in particular that they reprinted level 0 Oops instead of level 2 Oops.
Yeah, unlike Look What I Found and the Evade card that we talked about, they did give us the level 2 version, which is the good version of the card, or at least the playable version.
Level 0 Oops is awful. It's really bad.
Oh. I feel like, I mean, it makes sense to include it with all these Stella fail cards, but it's still bad. It's not good.
I mean, it's, again, like, all of these cards, if you're playing it with, I don't know, I don't want to try to make an argument for Oops. Let's just keep going.
Yeah.
So Will to Survive. This is a downgraded version of the original, right? Yeah, it was in the core set. So this is a level 0 version of it. Still commits for, it commits for 1 combat, 1 agility, so less than a wild symbol there. The difference here is that do not reveal chaos tokens for the next skill test you perform this turn, rather than the original being until the end of your turn, do not reveal chaos tokens for any skill test you perform. Obviously, a very big difference in power level. Kind of compare this to the changes that they did with Safeguard, because it's like kind of a neutered, very tiny baby version of it. Still could be okay. I think that there's a card, not Test of Will, the one with Seth on it. What's the one with Seth on it?
Trial by Fire.
Yeah, Trial by Fire. Trial by Fire is like kind of serves the purpose of like basically succeeding a lot of skill tests on your turn. It's kind of like more of a mini Will to Survive than. But like if you have like one test that you know you need to deal with in like a specific scenario, if you're playing like solo Forgotten Age and you need to pass that Ichitaka test and like there's nobody else, like you don't have any like symbols that you can commit, this is like a way to like auto succeed it. It's kind of like a really bad like Seal of the Elder Sign.
I could imagine in a very rich solo deck, maybe. Other than that, I just think paying 4 to pass a single test is kind of a lot.
Like this is fine in Preston, right? Preston can take survivor cards. He can't take the level 2 version, can he?
I mean, even in Preston, you're gonna spend an entire turn's inheritance to pass 1 test. I mean, I guess
maybe that's what he usually spends his money on, to pass 1 test.
But normally you play like talents where you can pay 4 and you don't have to spend a card. Like you play 1 card and you get to do this over multiple turns. This is like you only get to do it once.
Captain Fartis in chat's like, you just take the Seth card.
Exactly.
You just take Trial by Fire.
Not too excited about this card.
Captain Farnes, are you secretly Seth, the store owner of X9 Games in Hadley, Massachusetts? Are you talking about your own card that you're on the art of? Maybe not. I don't know. Should we move on?
Yeah.
Right.
Skills.
So skills, we got reprint of Take Heart, still great. The file package. Dan hates it now because usually when you commit it, you like draw the Elder Sign pass.
I don't hate it. I think it's I think it's overrated.
No. Ben, no. You literally always draw the Elder Sign. I was playing Return to Forgotten Age with Dan and a whole bunch of friends. Literally every single time, either he or I committed Take Heart to a test, you pull the +1, you pull the 0, or you pull the Elder Sign.
Well, but that's actually great because that means it's like a cheaper version of Seal of the Seventh Sign that survivors can play. So it's actually
it's a level 0 Seal of the Elder Sign, and that's what we need to think about this card. This card is amazing.
It would be fun if there was a row card that was like, when you commit this card, flip a coin. If heads, it's something where it like toggles between those 2 options, but you don't get to control which one it is. Like you either automatically fail and get money and cards, or you automatically succeed. That would be an interesting.
I really wish, so we had the trivia show during FarmCon. I wish that this was. How many times have you committed Take Heart to a test and succeeded and hated everything?
Yeah,
I think that's exactly what one of those questions.
Maybe that would be the first step in the reevaluation of how good Take Heart is that the community desperately needs. But you all aren't ready to have that conversation yet, so let's move on.
So last card is Unexpected Courage, level 2 as a survivor card. Oh no, I made a critical error in my slideshow. I didn't gray out the regular Unexpected Courage. Damn it.
Really quickly.
It's already kind of grayish. It's fine.
Yeah, but so this is level 2 Unexpected Courage. Has 2 wall icons on it still. It's innate and also developed. Max 1 committed per skill test. If this test fails, return unexpected courage to your hand.
Oh. It's really a bummer they didn't stick a 3rd symbol on this like they did with all the other upgraded core set skills.
That'd be really good, though. That'd be like...
I mean, it's 2
like,
XP.
never play Inquiring Mind ever again. That's like a lot of... It just one-ups like so many of those cards.
But Inquiring Minds is level 0, though. Like, a level 2 card should be better, you know?
Yeah, I mean, you're paying 2 experience for if you fail after committing this, which doesn't happen that often. It's like the auto-fail, probably, if you're committing Courage. I don't know. You get it back. It's like Silas's ability. I don't know.
I think this is like maybe kind of the worst of the new upgraded core set cards, but it's still not bad. Like I had this in that same Wendy deck with Lucky level 3 when Ben and I were doing Streamlands, and it was cool because I could be like trying to pass one of the really hard tests to defeat one of the Nyarlathotep guys, and I would commit this and have the Lucky in hand, and it was like, well, if I draw tentacles or a skull or whatever, it's fine. I didn't really lose anything, and if I pass, then I pass. So. You know, it's okay if you have XP. If you have Courage in your deck anyway and you have XP, you might as well upgrade it.
Yeah, I mean, again, for me, this is like all of these fail cards are like just the like I'm just dreaming of playing expert mode with all of these because I feel like these just make it like stand the test of time in expert mode so much better than a lot of cards do right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, like just being able to pull this card back and just use it until you can finally pass a test is actually pretty all right.
Yeah. And
that's true.
You know what? And the art is still a hobbit standing up to a velociraptor, and that's the type of major Hollywood blockbuster crossover that we all like to see here at Mr.
Yeah, question. Are we sure this is a hobbit? Looking at the art bigger now.
We're completely sure
child?
It's definitely a hobbit. Look at
him.
Look at him. That's how can you even suggest that that's not a hobbit?
All right.
Do you need glasses, Ben? You need to go to the eye doctor, get some glasses, maybe. I don't know.
Okay, no, that's probably fine. You can't see his feet.
Yeah, it's difficult without seeing the feet, but I'm very confident that this is a hobbit.
All right, sure. I won't contest it.
So that's it for the cards, right? We talked about all the cards from both of those decks, and my computer only crashed twice so far. So
that's a record. Usually only crashes once.
Well, usually we don't talk for like more than 2 hours about cards, but you know.
We kept it to about 2 hours, but
I mean, we had a lot of player cards to discuss here. We have a lot more coming up in the next couple episodes here. We're going to be talking about Mystic cards, all the cards.
Yes. This isn't even half the cards.
Take a second, though, just to let you guys know, if anybody wants to help support the cast, consider donating to our Patreon. We could throw the link in the description and include it in the YouTube for those who would be watching later. Just helps us run the show, pay for expenses, things like that. With that said, how did you guys feel about these new starter packs? We're going to be going on a marathon here. We're going to be doing this soon for all the other packs here, and then eventually for the investigators themselves. So, I mean, we love having you guys here hanging out with us. Curse you, Matt, for not reprinting Drawing Thin or giving us a level 4 version or 5 version that was unbelievably incredible for us. Catch us next time here on Twitch, or check us out on Facebook, Reddit, wherever you guys listen to podcasts, or email us at comments@mur.fm. Thanks for listening, everybody. Stay safe, and we'll catch you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
And we should
see you guys.
And we should say for people watching the stream, so we will be back next Tuesday. Is that the plan, with more Investigator deck cards, and then probably also the Tuesday after that?
Either Tuesday or Thursday next week. I don't know if we decided yet.
Okay, we'll update, but we will be back next week and the week after to talk about the remaining decks, and then after that we'll do an episode about the investigators themselves.
Captain Farnies, I'm sorry that you missed the chainsaw discourse too.
Dane,
we love that card.
If you use chainsaw enough, will we start calling it like the Dane saw? Would that be like the nickname that we want for that one? Maybe, I don't know. I'm really hoping that Pat makes that an alt art. Like, chainsaw is just such a cool, like, very classy weapon to use. Like Ash Williams, all that kind of stuff. Like, that's so bad. When I think of a classy weapon, I think of like the new sword cane that was just spoiled. Not a chainsaw necessarily, but to each their own, I guess.
Yeah. I'm excited for that sword cane. It's great.
It is
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go ahead and sign off then. Thanks again, everybody.
Yep. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Adios. We'll see you next Tuesday.